Holy crap.
People persist in doubting the evidence.
Don't run and hide. Don't be afraid. Don't turn away any longer. The truth will set you free. You're listening to Jimmy Church Fade to Black on the Dark Matter Radio Network.
We're turning all of our antennas towards Jimmy Church on Dark Matter Radio.
And now, your host, the captain of conspiracy, the prince of paranormal. This ain't your daddy's radio network show. This is Jimmy Church Fade to Black.
Hey. What's up? What is up? Fade to Black. That's right. Fade to Black is back. Few days off. Oh, man. I'll get to all that in just a second. Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. Wednesday night, June 18th, 159 days into the new year. We are live from the JP Motorsports Studios right here in sunny Burbank, California for KJCR and the Dark Matter Radio Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, and let's get this one cracking. It's going to be a good one tonight. We're going to have a lot of fun. Big salute to the proud men and women in uniform all around the world, fighting the good fight for us. Without them, there's no freedom of speech. And you could not hear me right now. Looks like we're getting ready to go toe-to-toe again over in Iraq. It's nuts. There you go. All right. Today, let's get this one cracking. Let's go. Got this Twitter thing going crazy. Everybody trying to figure out what's going on. But it is hashtag DMRadioNet. That for now will keep everybody at bay. I think we're close. Everybody's talking about TweetDeck. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't understand that stuff. But tomorrow, it might be a brave new world. But regardless, follow us right now at JChurchRadio. Hashtag DMRadioNet, and you will get in with everybody else. Oh man, we've got I got to tell you, it's going to be a great show tonight. Truthseekah, one of the coolest cats out there, and I've got to say, we're going to cover it all tonight. You have no idea. How's everybody doing? How is everybody doing? Hope everybody's great. Everybody listening all around the world, all over the United States, hither, thither, to and fro, north and south, east and west. This show is a humbling experience. It really is. And to all of our friends out there, welcome. Let's go. Anybody new, get used to it. Come back tomorrow, you get more of the same. It's always good. Today, one of my oldest friends, known this guy for a long time, really close. One of my oldest friends turns 51 years old today. Dizzy Reed of Guns N' Roses is 51 years old. And, I guess we're all getting up there in years when, Guns N' Roses, a member of Guns N' Roses, is 51 years old. You remember when we used to make fun of, the Rolling Stones when, they were in their 50s. Well, one of the coolest bands ever in the history of rock and roll. They're in their 50s now. But they're still doing it. And more on that in about 10 minutes. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, everything is Fade to Black, J Church Radio, Jimmy Church Radio. Go do it. Follow, like, subscribe if you're over on DM Radio Net right now. You know what to do. Just scroll up, click on everything. Over on jimmychurchradio.com, over on our website, If you're listening to me right now, it's not really going to matter. But the TuneIn Radio app is there. So you just scroll. It's right at the top of the page. And if you feel the need, if you're not around your computer, you don't have your iPad in your back pocket, you're driving around in your car, you're out to dinner, you're over at your girlfriend's house, whatever, and you need this show, the TuneIn Radio app is right there. You click on the icon. It'll take you right to the Dark Matter Fade to Black page, and there you go. And you can do it on the fly. Very easy, very slick, but the TuneIn Radio app and the icon is there. And I would suggest having it just in case. All right? So that is one of the updates that is over at jimmychurchradio.com. And by the way, we do understand the clutter of jimmychurchradio.com. Got so much email about it. Not the clutter, the load times. We are working on that now. What we are going to do, we have it set up. It's ready to go. We're going to have another Fade to Black website that is going to have all of the media on it. All of the galleries, videos, everything that is, the page, the show itself is just grown, to the left and to the right, and it's just gotten so big that the website has gotten a little out of hand. We didn't think it would do that, but it did. So we're in the process now of moving files and getting all that up. We will launch it. It's ready to go. So probably in the next couple of days, that will be up. The links will be there at jimmychurchradio.com, but you'll just go, click on that, and then all of the stuff, all of the big files, all of that other stuff is going to be somewhere else. So the page load times will be, down to a couple of seconds for Jimmy Church Radio, and we are taking care of that now. We listen to you. That's the point. All right? Contact in the Desert, again, this Friday, we will be announcing another 5 winners this Friday for Contact in the Desert. Go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the banner. It's right there, Contact in the Desert. And that'll take you over to the Fade to Black Contact in the Desert page where you can register to win 4-day pass, a $400 pass to Contact in the Desert. We will be broadcasting there August 8th, live, Friday night from Contact in the Desert out in Joshua Tree. And everybody's going to be there, and I want you to come and hang out. All the winners of the show, or all the winners of the contest, we're going to bring you on the air. You can come hang out and try to take over the show. And you just don't know who's going to be walking by or sitting in with us. You want to sit down and have a quick question and answer session with Jim Mars. How'd you like to do that? Nick Pope, Will Cock. It's going to be going on that Friday night. So go and register. I want you to win. I've never really won anything in my life. And, man, winning one of these passes would be the bomb. So go and do it. Register. We are a co-sponsor of this event. And when you have an event like this that goes down just once a year where everybody is there, this is, if you're going to do something like this, this is what you want to do. This is the one. So go and do it. Contact in the Desert. All right. Let's see. So, yeah, Friday night we will be doing the next round of 5 winners. Tonight, we can do open lines with Truthseekah. So we will get to that. The call-in number is 323-825-5045. Always email throughout the show. Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. You can also do it on the contacts page if you want to do it in private. You can do that over where we use non-NSA, specially encrypted servers. All right. Email. Let's get to a couple of quick emails. I got something I'm going to do at 7:15, a little treat. Email. I just listened to your interview with Freeman and listened to your discussion on chemtrails. They are very real. And here's the scoop if you want it for the website and show. I was in Montana for work earlier this week, and I was observing all of the chemtrail activity. Then, and this is in Hamilton, Montana, on Monday, the 9th, I saw a black chemtrail being followed in the opposite direction with a plane overlaying a standard white chemtrail over it to obscure it. Obviously, even the most brain-dead sheeple could not say that the black chemtrail is a contrail. Would you like a video of the pics to post up? And yes, and of course we said yes. So we are waiting for those. That came in from Scully. And as soon as we get those, I will post that. Over on Facebook, Allison Bell said, "You have alien dogs," referring to the levitation of the blueberry muffins last week in my kitchen, which was pretty amazing. She went on to say, listening to episode 76 at the end on chemtrails, it's been known about since the 80s by the alternative herbal people, which means it's probably been going on since before that, like the 60s. And so the reason why I posted, or I just read that to you, I would like to know, does anybody remember anything like that going on? Also, this black chemtrail being masked by a white chemtrail. Has anybody ever seen anything like that? I would like to know. That was new, very new for me, and I thought that was pretty interesting. So I wanted to get that up and out there to everybody. Heard from Larry Warren last week. As you know, he couldn't make it on the show, and he desperately wants to come on. He had computer issues and couldn't get into us that night live from London, and he wanted me to apologize to everybody, and that's that. So we will be rescheduling him post-haste, but he wanted me to get that out there to everybody. He says he has a lot to say, and he wants to get to it. So, all right, so with that, let me see here. I'm going to take a quick break, and when I come back, we'll see what's happening, but we'll also get to the news. All right, so with that, this is Fade to Black, the Wednesday edition. Tonight, it is Truthseekah. Hip-hop artist, author, musician, director, and he talks about it all. It's going to be a really good night. Follow us at JChurchRadio over on Twitter. Email us, jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. This is Fade to Black on the Dark Matter Radio Network. Stay with us, everybody. This is the Wednesday edition. It's going to be a good night. Don't touch that mouse. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church Fade to Black on the Dark Matter Radio Network.
What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I got to tell you, it was a relief. National Tax Experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. Doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil three-letter. So, seriously, give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444, or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
On the Dark Matter Radio Network.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. Fade to Black, the Wednesday edition. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Hashtag DMRadioNet. You can shoot us an email to Jimmy@JimmyChurchRadio.com. You can also do that over on the website. All right, let's get the show cracking. We got a lot of stuff to get in tonight. In a little bit at the bottom of the hour, Truthseekah, hip-hop artist, seeker of knowledge. He's an author, filmmaker, gets it all done, and we're going to cover everything tonight. We're going to go from E.T. to the Vatican and everything in between. But first, before we do that, a little treat for everybody out there listening. I have on the line right now, and birthday wishes too, Dizzy Reed from Guns N' Roses. Dizzy, are you with us, my brother?
I am, Jimmy. How you doing, man?
Happy birthday, man.
Well, thank you very much. I'm 39 years young today.
Hey, you know what's funny, Dizzy, is, and I was thinking about this today, we have known each other for, let's not even say it, but it's been decades. But it's
yeah, long time. Yeah, you're right.
It's safe to say we've known each other since we were kids. And now, do you feel 51? Do you really? I mean, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. It's like I've been to the Vatican, but I haven't run into ET. So. I can cover half of the subject matter.
Well, on a future show, we'll get you back on, and we can go to dark places, though, and I'm sure we can all share some stories. But, you're going out to dinner tonight, and, we reached out to each other today, and I appreciate you coming on the show. So I'm going to steal you for like 2 minutes, and then I'll let you go, and you can go celebrate. But you just got off a run right now, Guns N' Roses, out in Las Vegas at the Joint. How many nights did you guys play there?
We were there for 3 weeks, so it's probably about 9 or 10 shows, I think.
9 or 10, and Larry Dolan, you remember from Cherry, the band, he was one of the camera guys out there, and I told him to go and yell at you. Did you talk to Larry? I
don't know. Maybe he's the one that one of the camera guys hit our photographer accidentally, of course. They get beat up pretty bad down there, I tell you. It's not an easy job.
What have you guys? I told Larry, I said, man, go and find Dizzy and tell him that you're Strawberry Larry from Cherry from Hollywood and Western and freak him out. It would have been really cool to do that. So what have you guys got going now that this run over at in Las Vegas, that's a 3-week run. What have you guys got going now for the rest of the year?
I think we're taking a little time off. Hopefully, the band's taking some time off. Hopefully, we'll get some tracks together for another CD because there's quite a few. We just got to get them sort of organized and tightened up. But in the meantime, I'm leaving in July to go out on tour again with a band called the Dead Daisies that I've been playing with lately, off and on.
And is it so a national tour? Is it going to be local? Are you opening for somebody? What is it? And how can we find? We start off with we're going out with Leonard Skinner and Bad Company, and then we jump off that, finish up a few songs, and then we're going out with Kiss and Def Leppard. I tell the story. Where can we get those tour dates?
If you go to Dead Daisies Facebook website thing.
You know what? We'll find it and we'll get it up on our site, and we'll get everybody that's local in those towns can find it there and go check you out. Now, I got to ask, this is the thing. This is between me and you, brother to brother with love. Chinese Democracy. And as you know, I did my little participation on that record, and I hung out with you for I don't know how many years in the studio when you guys were writing that and working on it. I don't know how many.
Yeah, and we had an entire wall of ADAT machines.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many songs were written for that, or what you guys had to weed through to get everything down to what ended up being Chinese, because there were so many so many nights of recordings that it was years of recordings. Now, are you going to do that? And thinking you just brought that up, the wall of ADAT tapes. I have no idea how many tracks were recorded for that, but it was a lot. Now, this next record, are you guys going to try to get it out really quick? You're not going to make everybody wait 13 years, are you?
No, because I don't want to be in my 70s when it comes out. But so what you mentioned, there was so many different song ideas that were recorded at that time, and a couple of those made it on Chinese Democracy from that era, from the ADAT era,
right?
As I like to call it,
right.
And then when people came into the band, joined the band, they all brought ideas, and I think what Chinese Democracy ended up being was a good cross section of all of that. Plus Axel's great songs that are on there.
Right.
So there is a wealth of stuff that hasn't been released yet. So, hopefully that will be that will make up the next CD or two or three, possibly. You never know.
It sounds like you guys will actually hit the ground running instead of starting with a total clean slate. You guys already got a bunch of stuff ready to go.
Yeah, well, anything's possible. You never know, man.
Oh, man. Okay, one last question, then I'll let you go. Go celebrate your birthday. You and I, again, I don't want to run this into the ground, but everybody has to understand how long we have known each other. And we knew each other. We've been through
the trenches.
Yes, we have. And so we knew each other before, and we know each other now. To me, you're the same guy. You haven't turned into a rock star, have you? You're just the Dizzy that everybody's known and loved all these years in Hollywood. Everything's good.
Everything's good. I live life one day at a time, and every day that I wake up, I'm just very, very thankful that I'm still able to do this for a living all these years, and I just try to enjoy it. It's been quite a run, and I hope it keeps going, and lots of good things happening. So, yeah. I don't know what that means, rock star. I don't know. I mean, it seems to be a more commonly thrown about phrase these days than ever before.
Yeah, totally. Well,
but it's never something I've never thought of myself that way. I've never referred to myself that way, and most of the guys that I play with don't either. So, and we're still around. The guys who think that way, they don't last very long typically.
Well, totally. And as you know, we've had, you and I, we've got a core group of friends that, we've all been through it all together. And there's like probably 40 of us or 50 of us that we all look at each other as family. And we've been through all of this for the last 30 years. And we won't let you get away with being a rock star. And that's the way it is, Diz. Hey, listen.
I appreciate that.
Hey, man, go have a great birthday. And we'll get you back on the show, and we'll talk a little UFOs. All right?
Okay, cool. And just real quick, I want to say, in addition to the Dead Daisies, my band Hookers and Blow are always playing. We'll be playing some dates in September, so look out for that too. And I'm now finally mixing my CD that I recorded about 5 years ago, and finally found the right guy to mix it. So it's not going to be 14 years, but it's that'll be coming out soon, and the songs will be dropping pretty soon. So
who's in
look for that?
Yeah, and Hookers and Blow, you guys are always playing at the Whiskey. Do you guys ever play outside of LA?
Oh yeah, we do all the time. We never really played in LA at first. I think the time just wasn't quite right yet. But yeah, we did a couple of residencies at the Whiskey, and the last couple of shows we played at the Viper Room. We played the last show at the Roxy before they sold it.
Right.
So we'll be doing some more shows coming up pretty soon, man. In September.
We'll get all the links up, and looking forward to coming out and hanging out with you backstage at one of the shows, like the old days.
Yeah, you'll have to get a pass though from someone. So.
Yeah.
I'll have my people get on it.
Yeah, exactly. So the security guy at the dressing room, when he goes, Jimmy Church is outside. Do you know this cat? Man, he's some fat old white dude. Doesn't look like he should even be here. No, trust me. Dizzy and I are friends.
If I heard the name Jimmy Church, I would light up immediately and go, get that fucker up here right now.
Dizzy, I love you, brother. You go have a great, safe birthday. Do everything I would do, and I'll be in touch, man.
All right. Thanks, Jimmy. Take it easy, man.
Thank you, Dizzy.
All right. Man. Peace.
Good night. Dizzy Reed, Guns N' Roses, and there are people listening to this right now that have known or been hanging out with us over the years, and you know what that means to Dizzy and myself to have him on the show on his birthday. So happy birthday, Dizzy! Go and have a great time tonight. And how was that? Little treat, little surprise. Only on Fade to Black, something like that. Dizzy Reed. Okay. All right. A couple of things I want to get to before, man, we're already at the bottom of the hour. Wow. This article came out today. I went and checked it out, and it's a little bit trippy. And I want you to go check this out. It's an article on, I don't have the website here. I always give credit where credit is due for my sources, and it's not here. Oh, should I skip over it? All right, I'll do it before the end of the show because I do have it. The Navy's most vital and secretive submarine base is in... Anybody want to take a guess? Let me ask the question again. The Navy's most vital and secretive submarine base is... where? It's in Idaho. It's in Idaho. The Navy's Acoustic Research Detachment, it's called the ARD, is in Bayview, Idaho. And take a guess at how far that is. Well, it doesn't even matter. It's landlocked. It's not anywhere near any ocean. But this is where all of the new submarine and surface ship shapes, subsystems, and everything else is tested. I went to the website, read the article, and the headline to the article is a little misleading, the most secretive, because it's kind of out in the open. Sits right in the middle of a couple of little towns on the edge of this lake. The lake itself is deeper than Loch Ness. It's over 1,000 feet deep. But you go and look at these pictures of what they are running out there. It is bizarre. And I just have to say, when with the Malibu deep underwater base, and then you get something like this, and you just wonder to yourself, what other Navy bases that are inland, that are landlocked, for no apparent reason are there? It's absolutely nuts. And all of the new ships, all of those really cool destroyers, all of that stuff is tested out there. All of the hull designs, the noise, how they surface, the shapes, everything is done there. And actually, like I said, it's not really that secretive because you can go stand on the shore and take pictures yourself. I will get the links up to this before the end of the show. It is absolutely crazy. The other thing I want to touch on really quick, the United States right now is flying F-18s over Iraq for surveillance. Not drones, not U-2s, but F-18s. And that's not a surveillance aircraft, is it? That's an intimidation attack aircraft. And if that is what's coming, I don't know. I'm not going to get into this whole ISIS thing that's going on out there. But what I do wish is all of our personnel, everybody that is involved, if we do go toe-to-toe with this little group, that everybody is safe. And I do mean that, and it is very important. But we're flying F-18s right now over Iraq, taking pictures, swooping down. Pretty crazy, isn't it? So, with that, when I come back, Truthseekah will be in the house. Looking forward to this. Going to be covering everything, man. I think we might even be able to touch into teleportation and singularity. I'm serious. When I come back, Truthseekah. Joe Rogan, Orion, NWO, ETs, time travel. It's all tonight. I'll be back right after this.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church on the Dark Matter Radio Network.
dark matter.
Dark matter. Dark matter. Dark matter. Dark matter.
You're listening to Fade to Black
on the Dark Matter Radio Network.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
I get my hand and some scrolls that I'm holding. A mystical experience just like Joe Rogan. I'm chilling with Ethereans and a light that is golden. They say they are the Syrians with love and devotion. Sparring with the devil, I'ma put them in a chokehold. Fighting with the devil, we gon' battle in the dojo. Raising my vibration through Kundalini yoga. Building out my chi, I feel it rise like a cobra. Sitting in a posture that's shaped like a lotus. Clearing out my mind cause my mental is focused. My eye is single, pineal is open. Herbs and spices, incense smoking. Concentrated breath in my lungs I'm holding. 3-part breathing, the energy is flowing. Sitting in the silence, the now and the knowing. I'm thinking about my karma, my reaping and sowing. I'm speaking to my father, I'm praying for my homies. Reflecting on my memories, reflecting on my journey. Who are my friends and who are the phonies? Who are my partners and who try to control me? I will not let them rock me, I will not let them roll me. I will not let them stop me, I will not let them slow me. Order of my church.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. That is Truthseekah. Did you catch those lyrics? It's every subject I talk about every night, every week, every month on the show, all in one verse. And that's what I'm talking about. Truthseekah. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is the Dark Matter Radio Network, the Wednesday edition. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Shoot us an email right now. Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. Pierce the veil of the producers. Let's get it going. Let's get this one cracking. Oh, man, I'm excited. Truthseekah is a voice awakening in this current generation. After becoming involved with dark energies as a teenager through seance, ritual, and witchcraft, Truthseekah found himself in a battle for his own mind. In an effort of liberation, Truthseekah called out to God and found solace. Through his own journey, Truthseekah has found many universal truths through the study of ancient texts and practical experience of these divine rights, and has also made it his mission to share them with the entire world. As the planet moves away from spirituality and towards a technological advanced culture, Truthseekah feels an urgency to get information out that was once commonly known by our ancestors. Known for his esoteric and eccentric lyrics and stunning visuals, Truthseekah's passion for truth has not only transcended into the medium of music, but also into the form of podcast, video, vlogs, where he speaks about the spirituality in a very applicable way. Truthseekah does not lay claim that he is the foremost or end-all expert of any interpretation, but simply seeks to share what has worked for him. And also, he believes that he can transform your life. The recent release of his best-selling album, Awaken the Fire, on 4/20/12, through the Lost Children of Babylon, completes the convergence of the man and the music. I would like to welcome to the program right now, humbly so, Truthseekah. How are you, sir?
I'm great, brother. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. And I got to say, well, first off, thank you. And I have promised everybody just about every subject matter that I always talk about every night is it's almost in one verse in one of your songs. And your knowledge, I've done my reading, and I've got to say, you are on a mission, aren't you?
Yes, sir, I am, and I think I've been led down these certain paths for a reason, and just collecting the knowledge and understanding that I've been led to my whole life, and led to a pinnacle at this point, and we're just putting the information out there, and we're getting a lot of feedback.
We're getting some breakup on the line, Truth. You know what? I'm going to reset And I am going, you know what? Write this number down right now. You ready? I'm going to give you a number to call. Call 323-825-5045. Call that line. Call that line directly, and we'll bring you right on.
Give me the number one more time.
323. Oh, now you're clear.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, you're clear.
Good.
You're clear. Let's move on. You're on, and when I say that you're on a mission, what started this? I mean, I want to back up, and I want to talk about your book a little bit, but the whole thing started because you kind of went to the dark side a little bit. And what did you see when you were there, and why did you pump the brakes and come into another direction? What happened? Let's start from the beginning.
Well, to start from the beginning, I think what piqued my interest in the paranormal and the supernatural was a experience I had as a child, very young. I would say about 4 years old, waking up in the middle of the night and being pinned to my bed by these two pretty big shadow figures that were pinning me down to my bed. Woke up in tremendous fear, couldn't speak, couldn't move, but I felt them laying on each side of my chest, pinning me down to me. After that night, even after shopping at a young age, I knew that there was something going on. This was nothing that we talked about. I wasn't, familiar with anything like this. I wasn't, into watching scary movies or anything. And had this experience as a child and knew that something was going on, that there was something beyond this realm of existence that we are living in, that we can touch, taste, see, and hear. So, I guess being curious as a child and as a teenager, I began to get into scary movies, began to get into supernatural movies, and it just really piqued my interest for the supernatural. And then whenever I got older, I got into, was looking for God, looking for spirituality. I got into a church, and I really didn't find what I was looking for. And so then I began to get around certain people who were into Satanism, witchcraft, Wicca, a lot of different spiritual paths, dealing with a lot of negative energies. And I was led to a man who was pretty much a warlock and taught a lot of the kids and a lot of youth in the neighborhood would actually hang out, and he would teach them on Friday, Saturday nights, and they would basically have parties. And I really took to him and learned everything that I could, and really piqued my interest for what he was talking about, some of the different things. And there was an experience that I had as a teenager that I was spending the night at this guy's house, and I was living out of town. So while I was staying there, I ended up, I was a misguided youth, and I was into drugs and alcohol and, heavy, metal music and gangster rap music and stuff like that. So I actually stole some stuff from this gentleman and had it across the street in my bag, so that when I was going to go home, I would have, some of his belongings. And it was actually a video game that I stole from him, and stole some other things from some other friends. But we were hanging out at his house, and they were getting ready to have like a little party on like a Friday night. And while we were sitting in his living room, there were some other gentlemen there who I'd never seen before, and they were dressed in all black. They were all, mid-age, I would say from 30 to probably from 30 to 40 years old. And one of the guys came walking in the house, and he actually had the video game that I took from the gentleman who was staying at the house, and he walked in and he handed it to him right in front of me.
Okay, hey, Truth, we have to reset this phone line. You're coming and going, and I don't understand why it is doing it. But and I don't know if it's on this end or your end. Yeah, I've lost it. So look, I'm just going to go ahead and take a quick break, and we will just reset things. I'm going to call you right back, and we got to get a clean line going. Okay, so with that, let's just take a break. I'll call you right back.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford.
God on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? My name's Brian Taylor, Ninja Badass Extraordinaire, and this is JimmyChurchRadio.com.
JJCR in your face.
JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Got a really, really clean signal.
Radio Network.
All right, everybody just heard that. I didn't mute my microphone. You gotta love it. All right, let's just go straight back into it. All right, Truth, are you there?
I'm here.
Now, see, now you're crisp and clear now. Crispy and crackly clear. Okay, so you were saying that you had these video games and they were in your bag. So let's just pick up right there. You leave the house, you've got these video games.
Okay. Well, me and my cousin was at this gentleman's house, and there was a lot of other people there as well. They were getting ready to have a party on a Friday night, and one of my other friends walks into the room and hands the gentleman the video game that I actually stole from him. And he looks at these other guys who were there, dressed in all black, older gentlemen, and they look at each other and say, "Okay, let's do it." They stand up and they all walk to the back of the house one at a time and leave everybody else in the living room. Well, my cousin didn't see what was going on, but when I seen it, I knew that something was up because these people were actually involved with our gang involvement as well. And I thought that we may, get jumped to get beat up from, for stealing from these people. So as soon as I seen that, I got up and I walked outside and I got my cousin to come with me. And we walked outside. And there was a guy out there talking to some girls around his car. And I said, "Hey, can you give us a ride down the street?" He said, "Sure." So we got in his car. He gave us a ride down the street to where my girlfriend was living with her parents. And he dropped us off down the street. We walked towards her house, and we was going to try to spend the night in her tree house. Well, we were hiding in the bushes, getting ready to run to the tree house so her parents wouldn't see us or catch us or anything like that. But we waited probably 20 minutes or so because there was a light in the yard, and this light was hovering actually back and forth over the yard like it was watching us. And I thought it was someone walking around with a flashlight. And about the time that we were going to run to the treehouse, there was an open field. We walked around to get a better view of the treehouse. There was this entity that appeared, and it looked to me, the best way I can describe it, it looked like a 8-foot tall camel, and it ran past me and my cousin, and it looked like a shadow figure, and it knocked me and him down, and it made this wispy, windy noise, and it ran by us and knocked us both down and disappeared. And we both got up, startled, and we ran to the treehouse. And after that, there was a bunch of weird stuff going on with me where I would hear voices and hear the wind would start blowing in my house when no one was home, and I'd hear whispers coming through the house and things like that. And come to find out, he had a protection spell on his belongings, so that if anything happened to any of his belongings, these spirits would go out and retrieve the goods. So what they did was when they got up and went to the back, they put this spell and summoned what is known as an elemental spirit that came and got his belongings back from him. So you would think that I would have learned my lesson from that, but it really piqued my interest, that I knew without a shadow of a doubt that something tangible existed beyond this reality.
My first question, which is an easy question, is, well, okay, you didn't learn your lesson, but did you take his stuff back? I mean...
Well, they got all the stuff back because they got the bag that I had everything in. So, yeah, they got all the stuff.
Now, you said it looked like a camel. Was it as big as a camel, too, as well?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was about 8 foot tall. Yes, sir.
And what color was it?
It was a shadow. It was a shadow figure. It was like it was solid black, all black.
that must have okay, yeah, it piqued your interest, but did it scare the crap out of you too as well? I mean,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What happened next? And when I say what happened next, from this point forward in your life, also before this event, were you a believer in anything like this and anything in the paranormal? Had you experienced anything like this, or was this like a first-time event and a life-changing event?
Well, like I was saying, whenever I was, 3 to 4 years old, I had the experience while I woke up in the middle of the night and was pinned down to my bed.
Right.
But these are the two pivotal things that happened. But I was definitely into the craft. I was definitely into studying Wicca, Satanism, and kind of mixing all the different, crafts together. And whoever had different religious books, we would read them and do, practices and things like that. So we was definitely open to this stuff, and was definitely open to, trying to see something that was real, other than what we were introduced to through the Christian church. So yeah, that's what happened. And, there was different movies that I would watch that would pique my interest. I remember watching the movie The Craft and seeing what they were involved with and just, wanting that to be real. And when I found that there was entities or spirits that actually existed that someone could summon or someone could, be involved with, that right there piqued my interest more than anything.
When I've got an email that I want to read to you here in a second, but for myself and for everybody that is being introduced to you for the first time, I want to clearly define what your role was when we're talking about witchcraft or Wiccans and so forth, because we know that there's good, bad, black, white. There's Wiccans, which are there's so many definitions out there. So when you talk about not only your book, but what you were when you were a witch, or I mean, I'm saying the wrong things. I want you to define it so I understand and everybody else exactly what we're talking about. Then I'm going to get to this email that was just sent in.
Okay, well, it was kind of like an enigma, because we would try to practice Wicca, which is known as white magic or good magic, right? But I lived a very destructive lifestyle as a teenager. Like I said, breaking into houses, was in the gang involvement, drug use, alcohol use as a teenager. And so we were messing with the spirits. We were trying to tap into the spirit realm and make contact with the other side, but we were always around negativity, violent music, Marilyn Manson. We were into vampirism. So we were mixing a lot of stuff together. So for me to say that, okay, this is, we're going to let this claim all on Wicca or all on Satanism, we mixed everything together. And needless to say, that's where, we kind of got into trouble, mixing all that together, because we opened up doors that really, whenever you're trying to walk out a spiritual life, when you're trying to deal with the other side, it really involves consecration. And if you don't, that's where people end up being possessed, end up being oppressed, and really what led me to go basically schizophrenic at a certain point after all this happened, doing different seances and chants and open up my mind to different spirits. So I'm not going to say that it was just Wicca that we did. We had a lot of Wicca books. We had a lot of Aleister Crowley books, Anton LaVey, things like that. So it was a mixture of everything that we were doing.
And in the beginning, was it just for fun? Because it's kind of cool, and I mean, was that the intention, just to see if you could make it happen, and then it just spiraled out of control, and you realize, at some point, you guys probably took it a step or two too far?
Yeah, like I said, from watching a lot of the supernatural movies and things on television, wanting that to be real, wanting God to be real, wanting angels to be real, and all this type of stuff. And it's always a theory. There's a lot of people who are skeptics and actually don't believe. But when we wanted this to be real, and then we tapped into it and found out that it was real, then it was basically no holds bars. And we didn't we were kids, and like I said, we were, real destructive and had a lot of negative energy. And so when a lot of people hear this stuff, we definitely want to put out a warning that you need to be careful trying to tap in or play with Ouija boards or anything like that, because it is real and it is very dangerous, and it really calls for a consecrated life to mess with anything on the other side, whether it's good or bad.
What do you do? I mean, do you speak to kids about that? When I say kids, somebody that's not an adult yet, but when they, hey, tonight, Bobby and Mary are going to come over. We're going to break out the Ouija board. Do you step in and go, hey, check this out?
Well, yeah, that's what the information is there for. That's what the book is there for, and the podcast as well. That because there are a lot of people whose interests are piqued. There's a lot of people who are having supernatural experiences and encounters with spirits, with ghosts, with angels and demons and entities and things like that, and they want to know answers. They want to know what's going on. And someone like myself, I was involved in church and went to the youth group and things like that, and I would have dreams and visions, and I would take them to the youth pastor and the pastor to ask for clarity and what did he, what does this mean? And they couldn't give me an answer. They said it was the devil, that we needed to pray against it, but it wouldn't stop. So that's the thing. Like, people are having these experiences even at a young age. Like, these are happening to kids who are having dreams and seeing prophecies and visions, and they put them on medication that would silence these voices, where they quit seeing these type of things. They put them on medication to stop this. So that's why we're trying to just bring out some awareness that I think people's interest in this field, even at a young age, is legit. So, but we need to have someone there, some people there to kind of guide them in this, so that they don't go crazy, so that they don't go mixing everything together and talking and trying to summon evil spirits to take over their mind, things like that. So there'd be some type of, guidelines when dealing with the other side.
So here's although you've kind of answered this, but this is the email. So just this is helping all of us and myself included. So here it is. It says, most American witches today are what we would be called good witches. That is Wiccans, who are environmentalists and feminists and interested in positive spirituality that harms no one. Your book titled The Testimony of an Ex-Witch is a disservice to all Wiccans who also call themselves witches. Do you think if you've studied the Wiccan traditions instead of going to the dark side and letting yourself being overwhelmed with a demonic presence, as you state, that you may not have been driven to Christianity in an effort to explore positive spirituality? That's a great question. How do you feel about that?
Absolutely. I think the danger was mixing everything together, getting into a little Satanism, getting into a little Wicca, getting into a little, Taoism, just mixing everything together and not having a guru or a teacher or someone who had their stuff together. Someone who said, okay, you can try it, but here's the guidelines, be careful. All the guidelines we have were books, and when I say books, we had a lot of books, and we mixed it all together. So definitely, when I say, the testimony of an ex-witch, I'm not putting down Wiccans, but my plight, what went wrong with me was we mixed it all together, and I was a lost teenager. I actually called myself the Wicked Witch of the West. So, I was in the Maryland mansion. We were into cutting ourselves and drinking blood and all this type of stuff. And this was back in 1998, 1999. And so, yeah, I would definitely agree with the email that if someone wanted to study Wicca, if someone wanted to study any of these certain paths, I would always say at the same time, be careful don't go head over heels into anything, even Christianity, because when we're talking about spiritism, when we're talking about demons and elementals and things like this, they're rampant in the Christian church as well. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. So, we're just trying to bring some type of, information that we've dealt with these spirits, we've dealt with the people. And when people are talking about, witchcraft, we're talking about manipulation. And you'll find more manipulation in your modern Western Christian church than you will in any witch's coven. That's a lot darker than a lot of the stuff I dealt with in Satanism.
Yeah, right, absolutely.
That's saying a lot.
Yeah, it is.
That's saying a lot.
And do you find that, you know, you've now, because now today with your music and the videos and everything, it's all extraordinarily it's spiritual, but it's also about knowledge, and I think that's what I think that's one of the main messages. But do you find now that you've been running clean and strong and pure for so long, does the dark side follow you a little bit and try to pull you back in? Are you fighting it?
A little bit, but it's not as, like attracts like. And when I was living this destructive lifestyle, it was nothing but negative, dark, creepy stuff going on. And now that I'm more positive, I have a family, I have, things together, I'm on, a more positive, lifestyle, I have a lot of positive experiences and way more positive than negative. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
It's not scary anymore.
Oh, excellent. And I think that that is some of the best advice. I live my life that way too, and I think anybody out there that knows exactly what you're talking about right now, you're absolutely right. Light attracts light, and once you start to get rid of the baggage, that Samsonite luggage that's hanging off of you, you start to get rid of that, and then you find that it's the people that are around you are like you, and you just move forward, and it just becomes a piece of the past. But it's also experience, and I don't know if you would trade in anything, because you learned from that, and you probably wouldn't change anything, would you? Would you have still gone through the same experiences to grow up to be the person that you are now?
Yeah, I believe I was led, to those experiences. I wouldn't trade it for the world, but when I was in it, I would have given anything to be out of it.
Right.
Yeah, it was, like I said, there was entities that we were dealing with that, the normal everyday person can't see and don't even believe in exist, but we tapped into something that we would do seances and open up our minds to anything that wanted to contact us. And this is, we wanted to be in touch with something higher than ourselves. And I would do these chants and these guided meditations and I would open myself up to spirit with no protection or anything. And I ended up opening them up some type of portal in my mind that it was very much like the movie Stir of Echoes, where it's the movie with Kevin Bacon, and he would be walking through a house and his body would turn really cold and he would turn pale, and he would start to see all these different spirits and these ghosts and things like that. And that's exactly what happened to me. I would be at home sitting on the couch watching TV with my girlfriend, and I would turn pale. My heart would start racing really fast. I would start seeing all these colors and all these spirits swirling back and forth, moving, and they were all talking in different languages, and I couldn't understand them. And I would snap out and I would start crying, and then I would snap back probably a minute and a half, 2 minutes into it. And this would happen periodically, and it scared the hell out of me. I literally felt like something was stealing my mind from me, and I opened up a portal to something that I did not know how to stop. And that's when things got that bad and that deep, when I couldn't go into public anymore, I couldn't look people in the face and order food at McDonald's or anything. I had to whisper what I wanted to my girlfriend in her ear to get her to look at the people. It was really, reminiscent of stuff like from the movie The Devil's Advocate, and just start seeing everybody staring at you, and this crazy schizophrenia and hysteria going on that I called out to God that I needed something bigger than myself. I was familiar with the Christian church and was familiar with some Christian people, but at the time I was living in New Orleans, and I just called every church I could in the phone book that was like an Assemblies of God or that believed in demonic possession and things like that. So I called several churches and left messages on the answer machine telling them I needed prayer. I felt like I was demon possessed, and like I said, it was several churches that I left the message on, and one church called me back, and the pastor ended up coming over to our house and speaking with us and praying with us and picking us up and bringing us to Bible study. And then I found freedom in the Christian church from all these lower level, spirits. These are negative entities that I opened up myself through. I went through deliverance and counseling, and it was like overnight that I destroyed everything that I had, all the altars to these gods and things like that. I destroyed them all and got plugged in with this church and moved back to Alabama and got married. And this was in 2000. And so from 2000 to about 4 years ago, I was doing Christian ministry, doing Christian hip hop, gospel music. So it started to go a lot deeper and have more experiences, almost to the next level, of even stuff mentioned of in the scriptures, and then having different encounters with fasting and prayer and setting myself apart even more and having these positive experiences. But then when we begin to speak on a lot of these things, I begin to be demonized by the Christian church and with a lot of things that didn't line up with their doctrine. So needless to say, once you start going on podcasts or talking about whether it be aliens or angels or demons or elementals or anything like that, they get kind of cautious and things like that. But probably the last 4 years ago, I began to go even deeper, and where I had, a lot of UFO sightings and a lot of, angelic encounters and things like that took me a lot deeper. And I also got into the work of Manly P. Hall and Jordan Maxwell, Michael Tessarian, and I actually reached out to these people, and because I couldn't talk to anybody in the church, and I've talked to Jordan Maxwell on the phone for hours at a time, and he's helped me through some of, my hardest times on the other side of this darkness, So that's where I'm at now. So it's really just that transition from, okay, I'm a Christian minister, to now, like, I'm still a minister. My goal is to still help people, to still give people light and knowledge in God. And, but it's not the dogma. I study a lot of, comparative theology and understand that we are all connected, and understand the root teachings of the Bible is spirituality, that Jesus taught a spiritual practice in the East before it became a religion in the West. And we understand that, prayer, trances, angelic voices, speaking, healings, miracles, speaking in tongues, all these things were taking place in the Bible. And these things are still happening now, but in the Christian church, it's a lot of dogma attached with it, and it has to be exactly like they say. But once we do the knowledge, and once if you read the Bible, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to read the Bible and see that what's going on in the churches right now is not what's going on, what was happening when Jesus was walking the earth. That it's something totally different, So that's where I'm at now.
Well, and looking back over the last 14 years, going back to 2000, when you had the epiphany and you turned your life around, and like you were saying, it was dramatic, and it sounded like it happened almost overnight. But looking back, with all of your knowledge now, going into all of these fringe topics at the end of 4 years ago with the ministry part, do you think it was actually religion that turned you around back in 2000, or was it a state of mind that turned you around? And I know you know exactly what I'm trying to ask here. Was it religion, or was it the fact that you just put your foot down and said, okay, enough is enough, and you made, and religion was the catalyst to have your mind stop things?
Yeah, there had to be something tangible, something that we can put our faith and trust in, because I didn't have faith and trust in myself. I needed something greater than what I had, and for me it was Christianity. For me, it was Jesus. But we understand there's stories that we can't deny out there, that people have these same experiences, and they're involved in Buddhism, and they come out of this darkness and they get involved in Buddhism, and their story will be very similar to mine.
Exactly.
A lot of dark into this marvelous light and into the many truths of universal law and universal love, which love transcends all religion. And we understand even the Bible says God is love. So, for me, it was Christianity, but, we would be, blind to say that it's just Christianity. But whenever I came out of that, these past, 14 years, there was no way that I could say that. I couldn't even burn incense. I couldn't be anywhere around anything that reminded me of that darkness that I was in. It was that bad. I mean, I was on the verge of insanity. So at that time, it was all about the church. If you wasn't in church, if you wasn't, following, Christ or whatever, you were going to hell. So there was all that dogma. And now coming out of that with liberation and be able to look back and assess the information for what it is, to understand that, cognitive dissidence, to not shut out someone else's experience, someone else's truth, because it's not your truth.
That's right.
To understand when you're presented with this new information, make the adjustments, make the assessments for what it is. And if it fits, if it's truth, it's truth. And, truth will stand at the end of the day. And so there's a lot of truths. And me personally, I've actually, a lot of this stuff going on is all in the scriptures. All of it's in there. And it's all in the Bhagavad Gita. It's in all these holy books, So that, this is when it becomes a lot more interesting. When there's synchronicities and
absolutely
all these things happening.
And for me, now this may seem like a goofy question, but I know you crossed this line. So I'm just going to ask you the question, and I hope nobody's ever hit you with this before, and it would only be this show that you. But so now you start you're writing your music. Now you're into, and I said this before the show, now the subject matter is far and wide. Now you're writing your songs, you're up on stage, and you might have even been in front of a Christian audience, right? A hip-hop Christian crowd. And in one of your songs where you're talking about Orion's Belt or the New World Order or the Illuminati or Freemasons and the Vatican and reincarnation and astral planes, and you drop the pineal gland in a verse. Did anybody just come up from the Christian side and go, whoa, unplug the PA system and go, man, no, that is not what it's about in this. You know what I mean?
They usually just wait till you're gone and they talk about you afterwards. That's how the Christians operate. They don't really deal with confrontation too well. They deal with gossip is what we found out. But it's usually afterwards in blogs and things like that, and people, secondhand information. But when I first started understanding it, I was kind of going in a political direction. A lot of my awakening was with, 9/11 truth and getting into a lot of this type of stuff.
Right.
And I started mixing that into the Christian music first, and seeing that, he believes in this, he believes in that. So seeing the response I got from that, and then just, having this, awakening, watching documentaries and having my own experiences, putting it into music, I knew that it wasn't going to jive. Like, I still have a strong Christian fan base because I'm not the only one who's having an awakening. Like, this is global. This is worldwide. There's people all over the earth who are having these same experiences, who come out of the Christian church or come out of religion, and they have questions that aren't being answered, in the Christian church. So a lot of them flock to me. A lot of them are waking up too. So it's not like they all just demonize me. It's mostly, the religious right or whatever, those who are, have something to protect, whether it's, they own a business, which is their church or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I still have a lot of Christian following and stuff like that. I do talk, about the Bible a lot. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of, Christian, fans and friends at the same time, but it didn't come without it's a resistance. So to understand that I had to cross that line, that I wasn't a Christian evangelist anymore, that I couldn't, go back and forth because they don't play like that. You can't, get on here and do this podcast because everybody knows about it. They talk like crazy. And when I started introducing a lot of these terms in the music, I thought that it would open up dialogue with a lot of Christian brothers and things like that, that they would say, hey man, what do you mean when you say, the order of Melchizedek, the gates of Orion, the Lion of Judah, the stars of Orion, and it just open up dialogue, but it didn't happen.
No.
Like they would rather talk about you than talk to you. And a lot of people find that out the hard way, and that's why we come on podcasts and things like that to open up dialogue and talk about it and discuss some of these things.
Just got this email in, and it says, it sounds like Truthseekah might be describing Archon influence in his early life. And it goes on to say, a while back I was listening to an interview with someone was giving Robert Stanley on the subject of Archons, and it was pretty creepy stuff. What do you think? Do you think that could have been it too as well? And I know you talk about it. I mean, you sing about it. So let's talk about Archons for a minute. Do you think that was part of it?
I think we're talking about the same thing. We're just calling it different names, whether we want to call it demons or archons or elementals or whatever. There is a negative force out there, and there are disembodied spirits that leech on just like parasites. They do exist. They exist, physically on the physical plane. We can easily get out a microscope and pull some creek water out of the creek and look at it under this microscope, and we'll see all of these creatures, these microorganisms that feed off of other life, and they're swarming, and we can never see them with our naked eye unless we had a trained eye, which is your third eye. Then you're able to look in the spirit and able to discern what type of spirits or what types of archons, and people are actually able to see this. So this is why, like I said, we have people who are young kids being able to see these type of things, and they go to their parents or they go to their pastor and they just pray it off of them or something. But these are even like giftings and like these different giftings and psychic abilities that are listed even in the Bible that people naturally possess. And I think we need to restore that. I think that the ancients knew that. I think that they catered to that, these different giftings and abilities to be able to discern what's going on. So with comparative theology, I think a lot of times we are talking about the same thing, but we have different names for it. And that's where the dogma comes in. We have to be able to become all things to all men and not try to lay claim like, no, it wasn't archons, brother, it was demons. It wasn't archons, it was demons. Like, we don't know.
Yeah, right.
I think we're talking about the same thing. We just have different names and titles for it. It all operates the same.
Now, with your music, first off, it's even if you just listen to it in a musical sense, it's good. It's well produced. It sounds like anything else that would be released mainstream as far as the quality goes and the production and your rapping style and your co artists that you also perform with. I mean, it's just really good. But have you ever had, it's playing along, then have somebody go, wait, what did he just say? Did he say did he say Illuminati? Do you get that reaction a lot? Because, like I said, it's good as music goes. And then suddenly.
That's part of the art. That's part of the art. I mean, some of the music that I grew up listening to that really piqued my interest was a group called Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Yep.
And they actually rapped really fast, and I could listen to their songs 70 times and not be able to rap one all the way through, but I could hear any other song on the radio and hear it twice and know all the lyrics. And for marketing, there's good reasons for that, but for me, with that analytical mind and wanting something deeper, I gravitated towards the Bone Thugs and Harmony type. And so then when I got into watching different documentaries such as 2012 Enigma by David Wilcock and things like that, I was led to some music by a group called the Lost Children of Babylon. and that's who I'm affiliated with now. And they spoke about a lot of these things that I'm speaking about now, but even on a much deeper level. And it was the same thing. I could listen to their music 70 times and not be able to recite something all the way through. And it was so cool because I would be doing my own studying, whether it's reading some of the works of Manly P. Hall or Pythagoras, looking into some of his stuff. And then I would read something and it would tie together with some stuff that the Lost Children of Babylon was rapping about. So like with them, you had to have Google and Wikipedia to listen to their music. So that was my influence too. So that I'm going to use these phrases and terms that the average ordinary person has never heard,
Right.
So hopefully it would pique their interest, that they would Google what I'm talking about and look into it, and that it would open them up to a higher realm of existence, and just sort of just start asking questions at the very least,
With I've listened to almost all of I've listened to everything that you've sent me. I've listened to everything on the website. I'm sure there's more out there, but it's probably, there's very little Christianity in your songs now. In fact, there might be only a reference or word, where on the flip side, it's like everything that the show is about. And I made a list of stuff just listening to two tracks, okay. Right? So this is what I got here. I got Joe Rogan, Summer Solstice, Orion's Belt, New World Order, ETs, time travel, pineal glands, pyramids, shamanism, astral planes, reincarnation, prophecy, Freemasons, Illuminati, the Vatican, and I stopped there. I could that's nothing to you, is it? But what I mean is, so
I hear you.
Yeah, you're way on the other side of the fence now in your message from a Christianity sense. This is a whole nother, you've opened up every door here. You've left no stone unturned. And well, what's the message now? If it's not,
here's the thing, and I'm going to let you know a secret. Most of the stuff I'm talking about a lot of stuff mentioned of in the Bible. When I'm talking about going into the dream state, when I'm talking about going into a trance and things like that, like most of this stuff is mentioned of in the Bible. But as far as taking the biblical terms off of it and just calling it what it is, see, like the Bible talks about psychic abilities. Obviously, it doesn't use the word psychic abilities. It doesn't use ESP. It doesn't use telepathy. But these manifestations are mentioned of in the Bible, and it's called spiritual giftings in the Bible. And it goes into much detail about how to operate in this. It talks about walking in the spirit and not walking in the flesh, which is the carnal ego. And so I'm talking about a lot of these same principles, but I'm just taking the Christian names off of them to appeal to a much larger audience and to understand that these truths are universal. And it's not just marketed to Christians or whatever, like they own the claim on speaking in tongues. I talk about speaking in tongues.
Right.
Speaking in tongues.
Right.
That's a Christian experience. That's not just for Christians. It's called Glossala, Bacchus, all these other voodoo practices. They speak in tongues. It's not just for Christians. The Holy Spirit, the Kundalini, we're talking about the same thing. So I may change the wording on you. I may switch it up. And so I may even be talking about UFOs. If I mention a UFO, to me, with my understanding with the scriptures, I'm talking about the chariots of fire mentioned of in the Bible.
Right.
The cloud by day and the fire by night.
Mm-hmm.
These experiences that, that I've had. So with the artistic side of it, it opens up to understand that there's a lot of different names that other people are calling this. People are having, we could do a song about archons and we can use that terminology, but I may be talking about being demonically oppressed and possessed. So the artistic side, for me, it opens up a lot wider. So what I will do is I will take a term or take a principle that's very, very easy, something very shallow as far as like prayer and meditation. And I will describe that in as many ways as I can. I'll describe the feelings, the sensations, the energies, the fears going into that. I will describe it and make prayer and meditation sound so complex that it's very articulate. And then I will take something as deep as the Pythagorean theorem, as deep as going into a trance, speaking in tongues, and I will make it sound very simple. So I'll take these deep truths and make them sound very simple, and I'll take these simple truths and make them sound very deep. Therefore, that's what I believe is unique to my art and what I do. And a lot of people have flocked to it. And I get a lot of people. So like I said, you're going to have to use Google. And, we could be talking about some Christian principles, which, that's what I've studied for 14 years, the Christian Bible. So I know it. Like, I didn't just read it. Like, I was taught how to study and to break them down and to read the scriptures that we're not taught about in church, the ones that talk about trances and the ones that talk about how God operates and how these demons operate that are mentioned of in the Bible that we've never even heard about. Like, these teachings, I've never heard these teachings before, but when we read the Bible with an open mind and without dogma or prejudice, see, what it is whenever you go to church or whatever, you listen to information and you read that part in the Bible, you're already going to be taught how to interpret that. But once you get to the stage that everyone who is having an awakening, you have to go to the stage that you have to unlearn. And you have to get to this point where you say, I know nothing. And you have to start over from scratch and let God teach you, let your higher self teach you, the Holy Spirit, whatever, and just learn from Spirit and not deal with the teachings of men or what the Bible calls the traditions of men, and just accept the truth for what it is. And it becomes a lot more interesting to just understand the truth and accept it for what it is. Like I said, it becomes a lot more interesting.
Yeah, you touched upon this earlier. I want to reach back a little bit. You had mentioned, UFOs and chariots of fire and other references that are in the Bible. Is that how you do you feel that we were visited back then by ET, and those were that was the way that they referenced it, in the Bible, the best way that they could, get it written down as they understood it?
Yeah, I do. For anybody who's a little bit advanced in the Bible UFO phenomenon, there is a lot of scriptures that people try to go to and say that this was a UFO and that was a UFO. And upon further studying and doing a lot more breakdown, it wasn't the case with every one that you see on Ancient Aliens. Like, you have to dig a little bit deeper. Like, I don't believe that Ezekiel's wheel was a UFO. Although if you want it to be and you break it down, that's what it is to you, and it becomes real in your mind and your psyche. But yeah, I believe that when the Bible talks about God created Adam, and when we talk about God, obviously you're familiar with the work of Sitchin and a lot of other people, the word God there is plural. It's not talking about one entity, one divine being. So when we read the beginning, it would say, in the beginning, the gods created Adam and Eve,
Right.
And then, the reason we can break that down is not because you have to move past dogma and forget everything you learned in church and understand that if we interpret the Bible with the Bible and we actually move on to Genesis, where it's talking about, let us make man in our image. This is what it said, let us. So the church teaches you that this us is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. There's no reference to that in the Bible anywhere. This us. Then we have the Tower of Babylon, where it says, let us go down and confound their speech. Let us. This is this us speaking, the same us that created you and me from the beginning. And then we see in Genesis 18 and 19, this us actually came down. And these were three beings. This was God, capital L-O-R-D, the Lord, and two other angels with them. And this is what is known as the Elohim. This is a plural race of intelligent beings that created mankind. According to the Bible, this is the us. And so, yeah, if you wanna say that these are ETs or these are angels or whatever, people call them by many different names. Obviously, Palladians, they have different types of sects and things like that.
Right.
But I believe that what we are in touch with and what is watching over us, they do fly, they do travel from heaven to earth. That's very clear in the Bible. I've had many experiences where I've been able to see them travel from heaven to earth. The book of Enoch goes into much detail that talks about when they're in heaven, their appearance is that of fire. So when we look up in the sky, we see these fiery chariots flying around, and they stop on a dime. You can see this, almost any night, especially if you go out with some binoculars or something like that, and you spend enough time out. You can see some amazing things in the night sky, even with the naked eye, even without all this equipment. Like, I've spent a lot of time gazing into the stars, gazing into Orion's belt, and talking to God, and fasting and praying, and I've seen all this stuff, and I'm not the only one. This is not privilege just to me. There's so many other people who have had these similar experiences and coming with very similar information. So, yeah, I believe we were created by these beings that are watching over us. They've been here since the beginning. I believe they have our best interest in mind. I believe they're visiting. I believe you can talk to them. I believe they communicate telepathically, even in the Bible. All this stuff is backed up by the Bible. And so I think that we all have a piece of the truth, and we all have a piece of the information, and we all have a piece of the puzzle. And I think that if we all take our piece and we put it together, then I think a picture begins to form. But if anybody says that, Sitchin was right, all of his books were right, he was, we need to follow his teachings. No, I believe that the First Baptist Assembly was right. No. I mean, they got some stuff that's really good about brotherly love and compassion and things like that. But when it comes to understanding the universe and the way things work, they're not the foremost knowledge to go to. But so, like I said, I think we all have a piece of the puzzle, and we, as we share our stories, as we come on podcasts, and people release the fear. When I release the fear, and not be scared about the people listening now who know me in daily life, and they're like, oh, he's kind of out there, but we had to get past that and understand that it's for the greater good of humanity, that many other people are having these experiences. And if it helps one person just by me sharing my experience, then I'm happy.
When you mention, not only the Old Testament and Elohim and Sitchin in one sentence, and you say, part of the, and I understand what you're saying, but what about the element of Sitchin, where Sitchin is going back, I'm going to pull round numbers out, 400,000 years, 500,000 years, and the conflicts that you get not only from the Bible, but also other religions too, and Egypt and other civilizations around the world, and you start to hit those conflicts. Where do you draw the line? Or is it you really do need to get a combination of the both and kind of extrapolate your own belief?
I think you do. I think you would be a fool to follow, Sitchin blindly. And, there's a lot of flaws in Sitchin's work. Obviously, there's a lot of flaws in the Bible. Obviously, are we going to, so I don't think we should throw the baby out with the bathwater. But I think if we study with an open mind and an open heart, without agenda, I believe we begin to see a picture, and it's very similar to what all the other cultures are saying, that these angels came down, these star beings came down. When you talk to the Native American, the star people, they came down and they're still watching over us. They created us. There's a lot of holes in the story. So, there's a lot of holes in my story. You're trying to piece things together. We're trying to figure this out as we go. And so for anybody to come to you and tell you that they have it all figured out and they are the end all knowledge, you probably should run the other direction. I don't care if that's your pastor.
Right.
I don't care if that's your bishop. I don't care if that's Jordan Maxwell telling you he's got it all figured out. Follow him. This is what's happening. Let's run for the hills. We've seen that many times, and we've seen a lot of cults form out of that. And I'm not talking about a cult as far as just a religious group, but I'm talking about these destructive, manipulative cults who want to, reign and rule over people. I've had my experience with them as well. So the information is what it is. We need to dissect it for what it is. If it's bullshit, throw it out. If it sticks, let's look into it just a little bit. Let's try to give it some credence.
Let's have some fun for a second. And before I ask you, trust me, man, I can take you to task if you want to talk about some music production or what goes down in the studio. I can hang with you, even though I'm just a fat white dude in Burbank. But I can really, really talk production, and I do want to at some point visit that during the show, because I really dig the production, and I could give you some tips, here and there. But the production is really good on your stuff. But I don't want to go there yet. I want to talk about the New World Order and Illuminati, which you sing about a lot. Now, is there? So I'm going to go straight. I'm hitting you between the eyes. Is there a New World Order? Is this going down? And is this something that you really need to get out there?
I think that the New World Order is already here. I don't think that it's something that's coming. I think that this is, the New World Order is expanding with us going into other countries. This is something that was started a long time ago with the foundation of America, not with the foundation of America, but includes the foundation, and it includes us going into other countries, taking over, taking the resources, and bringing it all together under one helm. And if you do not cooperate with this agenda, then you will be slaughtered, you will be pillaged, your people will be killed. And we see this going on. It's been going on since the beginning. We see it with the genocide of everyone that the European has had their hands in on, whether it's the Native Americans, in Turkey, Iran, Afghanistan. There's a lot going on. That is the New World Order. And but
didn't we? Yeah, but Truth, let me ask you this, and although I do agree with you, and I know that there is something heavy controlling the globe, I honestly, we all know that is going on. But didn't the Romans do the same thing? Didn't they expand or the Mongols, or India and the Persians? It seems like. There was always a period of you had the Holy Roman Empire too that tried to gain ground. So, it's not the imperialism, and the New World Order didn't just start with America or start with Great Britain or even Russia, for that matter, when they were reaching across with the Warsaw Pact and the Cold War. There, and none of those are the same thing. But certainly this has gone on since the dawn of time. So are we talking about the same thing here? Or is this a modern phenomenon?
It's our version of it. It's our even in the Bible it talks about that we don't war with flesh and blood, that our battle is a spiritual battle that we can't see. And to understand, the first thing about spirits is that you can't kill a spirit. You can't kill an Archon. You can't kill a demon. These things are already dead. These things exist on a plane that most people don't even know exists, and they can't access even on their best day. So we understand that those spirits that were alive back then, taking over the world, pillaging the world, those same spirits are still in the earth, and they're still wanting control over the minds and hearts of the people. And that's pretty obvious. I mean, the same thing is going on. I don't think it's getting better as far as, these issues. I think it's getting worse. So, we want to put, names and labels on it. I think we're going to be, chasing our tail and splitting hairs with a lot of it, but we could see the spirit of it. We understand that it's an ancient spirit that's way smarter than Truthseekah, that's way smarter than you, and and it's present in this age.
Right. Right.
You put names on it and things like that. I personally don't think it's called the Illuminati. Obviously other people would disagree and say, oh, the Illuminati is controlling the world, things like that. But yeah, there is an agenda that's bigger than me and you, and I they would say it's for the greater good of mankind. Me and you, we may have different opinions on that, but
So the Archon, now the Archon influence, now this is where I'm on the same page, and I'm sure that we're going to get a lot of response and reaction out of this, but it's the Archon influence that is influencing what people would term as the NWO or Illuminati or just bad governments in general or treatment of people or just, I don't think anybody is born bad, but you have an Archon influence or a demonic influence or a negative influence, and that is truly what is trying to control things, then that is the foundation of everything. And the Archons have been here forever, so therefore everything can reach back, through millennia. And I think that's exactly what you're trying to say. That's the way I look at things.
Yeah. 100%. This is spoken of in the scriptures that these spirits, these spirits are still here. If I refer to the Bible. If you're familiar with any other holy book, you can probably say the chapter and verse where these same principles are repeated in many of the other holy books as well. But it's definitely going on, and we can see that with people's lives. On the smallest minute level, we can look at what is known as a generational curse, that this is a spirit that stays with a family, and the spirit that affects the mother will also affect the daughter, will also affect her daughter, and it will travel down through each generation, which is known as a familiar spirit, a generational curse, until someone does some type of work, until someone sees the light and breaks that cycle, whether it be alcoholism, whether it be abuse, things like that. And we see this happening over and over again. And as families evolve, you can look at your own family. You know how to say, well, he's just like his dad. It's the same thing. So this is on a very small level how spirits work. But if we look at the same principle on a global level, we can see the same thing going on. We can see history repeating itself, and that there is an agenda and something else is at work. And I think it's these spirits, whether you want to say archons or demons, they want to express themselves through mankind, and most of them are negative. Most of them want war, bloodshed, and they want to pillage. And it's pretty obvious when we turn on the news, or we just see what's going on in the world. And a lot of people are being affected on a small level, locally, and the same thing's happening, on a global scale as well.
Jordan P. Maxwell. Now, Jordan. Now, for everybody, I want to. I'm going because I want to back up here for a second. We have mentioned his name tonight like 10 times, and for anybody out there that has no clue who we are talking about, and before you say or I say, just Google him, go check it out. But not for the interest of the show. So, who was Jordan Maxwell, and who was he to you? And you've spent a lot of time with him on the phone. He's asked to come on the show. He's down. I think he's in Central America right now. He's actually not here, but we're going to have him on the show here pretty soon. But who was Jordan Maxwell, and why would he influence you?
Whenever you're looking into a lot of these subjects that we're talking about, whether it's 9/11 or people understand the Matrix and this world within a world, whether it's a spiritual world or the very physical world within a world, the world that happens within the shadow government behind closed doors, the way that the government works. He is I would call him an expert on this field. He wouldn't call himself that, but he deals with that. I think there's a lot of people who know who he is from the documentary, the Zeitgeist, because a lot of his works was used in there dealing with religion, and the religion part was the part that actually stood out of that documentary. Yep. So he was actually the one whose work that was taken from. Peter Joseph actually used a lot of his work. So when you're talking about religion, when you're talking about comparative religion and astral theology, Jordan Maxwell is the man behind it. A lot of people have used his work over the years. He is noted to even pitch the Matrix script to Hollywood back in the 80s. He came out with a presentation called The Matrix of Power back in the 80s, and they didn't accept it. And then in the mid-90s, we see them coming out with a movie with the exact same theme that his Matrix of Power, was based on. So
right.
A lot of information, a lot of knowledge that people, may want to claim that they have came up with from him. This is a man who has, dedicated his life and has actually missed out on a lot of things in life because this is what he committed himself to do. And so a lot of people totally understand, where he's coming from. But definitely, check him out. He's very controversial because he's going to challenge your realm of thinking. And when I was on this teeter-totter between, do I want to be in the church and try to move and minister in the churches and be quiet about what I believe versus just present the information for what it is and really move away from the dogma of it all.
Right.
Jordan Maxwell totally helped me out and spent a few hours on the phone with me, and he's actually endorsed my work and did a couple promo videos for me, and he's actually worked with me on some projects and stuff like that. So he's just a big influence, and someone who was an influence on him was Manly P. Hall.
Yep.
Manly P. Hall left him a lot of his life works, and the teachings and life work of Manly P. Hall resonates with my spirit 110%. Some amazing stuff. And I use a lot of these documentaries. I use a lot of these lectures from Manly P. Hall. A lot of my songs are named after Manly P. Hall lectures as well, where I will give you information that he speaks of in a lot of his lectures. So when you listen to my music, when you listen to my songs and watch my videos, you're getting a piece of Manly P. Hall and Jordan Maxwell.
The thought of, man, I just got to tell you, you're at the pearly gates. You know what I mean? It's all over. You're ascending. You're going up. And then they just stop you right there and they go, dude, check this out, man. You crossed way too many lines. And so looking at this right now with your Christian friends, how do you possibly keep them as friends, because there's strong beliefs out there, and where you are seriously dropping a lot of subjects in people's laps, and you're asking them to, and I'm talking about, when you say dogma, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and so
you know what, we're talking about spirits. There's spirits are hooked to this dogma too. This isn't just somebody's opinion. These are ideas that have been around for a very long time.
You don't have to, Truth, you don't have to convince me of that.
I know. I know. We're just putting it out there, to let people know that it's a lot more to thoughts and ideas than just thoughts and ideas. There's seeds, and there's what the scriptures calls a stronghold, and this is what demons, according to the Bible, work in strongholds, and they work in lies and manipulations, and they get you to believe a certain type of way, and that's how they gain access to you and get you to do certain type of things because you believe their influence. So dogma, I'm telling you, whenever we opened up the show and I said that there's a lot more black magic going on in the Christian church rather than in a witch's coven, I'm being 100% real on that.
What do you mean? What exactly are you trying to say when you say something like that?
We really have to devote a whole show to it. I've been doing Christian ministry for, like I said, over 12 years, and I've seen some really messed up stuff. Like, I've seen some really, really messed up stuff that gets swept under the rug, that is operated by people who are controlled by dark spirits. A lot of manipulation, a lot of rebellion, and it's praised in the Christian church. It's not revered. It's not exposed. It's praised. The pastor is praised for a lot of stuff that he does, and there's a lot of manipulation, whether it's to get money or to just, or, they just get a following, to simply get a following. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, and we've seen it all. We've seen it all.
Well, okay, I wanted an example. I mean, you've got my interest here, so give me one.
Okay. One, we'll just say people molesting children in the youth groups of the churches, and other deacons and notable members of the church, not say anything because they believe in the call of God upon this person's life. They use these different, and that's what I'm saying. I believe God has a plan for this person, so I'm not going to go forward with this. I see the best in this person, so therefore we're going to sweep it under the rug. That's a big one, but it's happening. I know, personal people who have done this.
My producers just let me know that the conversation has been great, but I haven't once tonight gave us a station ID or let anybody know who we're talking to. So I'm going to do it right now. This is Fade to Black on the Dark Matter Radio Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We are talking to Truthseekah. He is for the lack of a better term, by the way, Truth, I was, hip hop R&B artist, and that is so generic today.
Yeah.
And it sounds so gentrified. So when you're talking to somebody, how do you identify yourself when you talk about what type of music you're doing? What do you say?
I've coined the phrase esoteric spiritual hip hop.
Esoteric spiritual hip hop. Okay. You know what's weird? Do you find it easy for the hip hop generation? They definitely can categorize themselves and are comfortable with that in so many different. What do you do? Well, man, I rap about cars. You know what I mean? Or I rap about hot dogs. It can be whatever, and you can have your little your little genre. When it comes to rock and roll, it's just like, your punk, your rock, your heavy metal, and that's it. You don't have a heavy metal band that sings about pyramids.
I'd have to disagree. I'd have to disagree.
Okay, okay, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Come at me. So what do you
got? Okay, well, you have metalcore, you have grindcore, you have speed metal, you have black metal, you have death metal, you have rock and roll, you have
you're right about that. You're right about that. Yeah. But what I mean is, it's not. No, absolutely, you're right there. But what I'm talking about. More specific subject matter for you.
Okay, you talk subject matter. I get you.
Yeah, and only deal with just that, and I find that fascinating. And for you, like I said, you've got 10 videos on your website, all specifically talking about paranormal, very fringe subjects, but it's very narrow. You know what I mean? And you're cool with that. You're comfortable with that. And I find that fascinating. So you're not, when I say hip hop, you're not hip hop. You are, say it again, esoteric
spiritual hip hop.
That's fascinating to me. Absolutely fascinating. What comes to you first?
It breaks it down. It breaks it down to its own, cult-like following. Like, it's not for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're not into these things, if I don't catch you with some of the, the terms or whatever, it's not for everybody. But those who are into it, they love it. They eat it up. It's a cult-like following. It's, we want, it's because at this point I represent something bigger than myself. And it's hard for me to understand that at times. I'm not going to lie. That I'm just this person who works a full-time job. Like, I work a full-time job. I have a family and things like this. So I'm trying to balance this spiritual, this esoteric understanding. Being a member of the community, I'm trying to balance this with this, spiritual life, and it's hard.
Okay, Twitter's lighting up right now. Boom, 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 and they're all right in a row. They want examples of black magic in the Christian church. Is that what you're referring to? And can you talk about that for a second?
Yeah. Whenever we're understanding spirits, whenever we're understanding demons, and when we mention the term black magic, I'm not talking about these people have went to the store and bought black magic books and have learned black magic spells to do. We're talking about spirits that are operating on a level that most people in these churches have accepted as normal. That's a status quo. We're talking about, and it's always these extreme cases like Jim Jones or whatever, owning a church and flogging people in front of the church. Like, this stuff still goes on. Like, people still get flogged. People still get ostracized. People still get, blacklisted. People still are made to have sex with the pastor. All of this crazy stuff that's going on in these churches right down the street. There's a church on every corner.
Right.
We've been to church where, like, we're not able to leave until we pay them money.
Right.
Like, they have security stand at the front door, and you can't leave until you give them money. Like, we've been to churches where there's people. I'm talking very small churches too. These aren't mega churches. Churches where people will stand at the door of the pastor's office with guns, guarding him as a bodyguard. And but when we're understanding demons, we're understanding witchcraft. The root of witchcraft is manipulation. So if we're gonna talk about casting a spell, it is to manipulate matter. When it's to take something and form it into something else. So the same thing is going on with the psyche of the people, whether it's through someone who is just a little bit more charismatic and will do a certain type of thing to get their way, to bend the consciousness of the people in that church, to get them to give money, to tell them that if they don't give money, then that they're going to hell. I've got friends who have had pastors tell them that, they were having problems with their marriage and went up to church for prayer. And the pastor said, unless you give us money, we're not going to pray for you. And the manipulation there and the witchcraft there is them thinking that that's legit. They think it's normal. Well, I haven't been given. I haven't gave money this month. I have to give the pastor money so he can get these demons off of me. And it's like that right there. You don't understand what that does to people's minds. You don't understand what that does to people's psyche. And it happens so much, and there's so many different cases. And the thing about it is people accept it as normal. It's normal. It's okay.
Why do you think a guy like Jim Jones or David Koresh or any of these other fringe what's the word I want to use? I almost don't want to call it a Christian organization, but that's what they hide under. Why we're all smarter than that? You would like to think that you're not going to get suckered in to something like that, but it happens. And
hindsight always 20/20.
Totally. But how does it happen? I mean, how can you manage to pull in 1,000 people, like-minded? Is it their personality? Or is it the other side? Is it just people wanting to belong to a group that they could never belong to before, and they're suddenly accepted?
A little bit of all of it. Because I used to have this thing where I was upset with the pastors for misleading the people and guiding the people wrong and just in it for the money and stuff like that. But we understand that the people want these pastors to tell them what they're telling them. Like, they want to belong with these people. And we're talking about this, and it's a lot of it seems all subtle. And I know people want these examples of witchery going on in these churches, but I'm giving you very practical examples. This Remember I told you about the guy who came to visit me when I called his church and I needed prayer, right?
Right.
I was coming out of all this darkness. This guy came. He came to our house. He prayed with me and my wife, which was my girlfriend at the time. he prayed with us, and he came and he actually picked us up and brought us to Bible study, brought us to church because our car was acting up. And I was coming out of some dark stuff. Like it was still like it wasn't an overnight thing. It was a long, hard road out of hell. And so we were in Louisiana when this happened. And it was a normal charismatic church. They did charismatic things that, seemed extreme, but it was still stuff that, the other charismatic churches down the street are doing. They dance when they sing, praise and worship and things. And then we moved from Louisiana to Alabama, and we got plugged in church in Alabama. And I would go visit my family every few months back in Louisiana. And when I went to go visit my family, we would go to church there, and they would have us and, hey, Derek's back. Hey, everybody welcome them and things like that. And so a few months passed, and we went home. Then we came back again, and we had service again, and it was cool. A few months passed by, we come back, and we go up to the church to see what time service starts. And they had scratched the service times off of the door, and it had a sign that says service by invite only. And they had put aluminum foil up over all the windows, service by invite only. So I knew the pastor's last name, so I really wanted to go. I was pretty naive, so we call trying to find this pastor, and people are hanging up on us, telling us to never call back. So we find it kind of funny. We ended up going visit a different church at this time. So about a year later.
Well, what was going? I got to cut you out. What was going on behind the locked doors with the tinfoil on it? I mean,
yeah, that's what I'm getting to. What was going on is my mom told me. She said, "Hey, you remember that church I went to?" I was like, "Yeah." I said, "Well, yeah, they're on CNN. They were." They got into animal sacrifices and child molestation, and there were people and high rankings and the city officials that were teachers. They would bring their children up and swap children to have sex with each other's children, and this is all documented. And to me, this was like a regular charismatic church. So we go from this shift of this regular church that gets into, I'm asking the same questions as you. When does this happen?
Right.
When does this go from, okay, let us atone for sin, but let us sacrifice this cat?
Right.
Right after service. Like, I'm with you. I wasn't there. I left. But come to find out what they were doing is they would find people who were in these situations who weren't that mentally stable, and they would go visit them, and they would pick them up and bring them to church, much like they were doing to us. And he would gain their trust. And, it's actually online. If anybody wants to look it up, just type in Hosanna Assembly in Hammond, Louisiana, and you can find out all the details. They actually just did a TV show on it. It made, I don't know if it was CSI or one of these shows, but they took that whole story and made it into a television show.
You actually knew, I've got to cut you off. I got to ask. Yeah. You actually knew this guy? I mean, this was the guy. No.
Yeah, they were weirdos. But hey, you go to any of these charismatic churches, most of the people are weirdos. It wasn't nothing different. That's the thing.
Whatever happened to him? Did he go to prison?
He's locked up. Yeah, he's locked up.
And just got this email that just came in, and it says, are any of these black magic preachers, are they anybody that are on TV or radio? Are they nationally known? Do you know this?
Totally. And this is going on very small to big levels. Definitely. There's a guy named Mike Murdoch.
Don't get me in trouble. Slow down. Don't get me in any trouble.
About manipulation. This is what we're talking about, manipulation. We're talking about bending the truth in order to get what we want. This is what we're talking about. And this comes in many different shades. So there's a guy who would tell you that if you send me $1,000, God said he would send you 10,000. And he gives you the big spiel on it and things like that. And he tells you that God told him it took to these scriptures and these scriptures and this. That's manipulation. That's taking the truth and bending it to get what he wants. That's what witchcraft is. This is what we're talking about. It's not always as extreme as drawing a pentagram or a Baphomet out of blood and getting in the middle of it and summoning 7 demons to come and help you preach the sermon. It's not like that. It's a very practical ways that bends the consciousness of the people to get them to do what you want. And it happens on many levels.
With, we were talking earlier, you mentioned Aleister Crowley. And I went through a few years of studying him and then kind of backing off a little bit. I was in no way, practicing anything. I don't, that stuff doesn't. It's not something that I was ever really curious about. I was curious about the man himself, and so with Crowley. I'm sure that you and your friends during that dark period did a lot of studying on Crowley. And now looking back at Crowley, do you think he was actually summoning? Was he successful in the things that he talked about? Now, we know he did some horrific things. Bad. He was a bad man. We don't need to get into any of that. That stuff was real. You can physically do stuff that is retarded and horrific. But was he successful in what he practiced and preached?
I think he had a lot of good things, just like these same pastors I'm telling you about. They have a lot of good things they're speaking about, but they also have a lot of destructive things that are very dangerous. And Crowley, I think that where Crowley ended up in the end is where I was headed. I was pretty close to that. Not as far as he ended up, being a loony and being, out of his mind. And it comes with the territory in a sense if you're dealing with all these different, spirits and frequencies and you don't know what you're doing or you're in tune with something that knows what they're doing. You have a lot of different trickster spirits that want to lie and manipulate. And a lot of them want you in this vegetable-like state. That's the end result. I think we can look at his end result and say, let's do things a little differently than the way he did them. And that's what I'm saying about my experience is the way I ended up. Let's do things a little bit differently than the way I was doing them back then, because I wouldn't wish that upon anybody.
Right. And he wanted to wish them on everybody. That was his. That was part of his MO. But I certainly, and you're right about the way that he ended up. He ended up, living in a halfway house, broke, bankrupt, morally corrupt. The years of drug abuse and everything else affected his psyche and stuff. So, and he ended up dying a broken man. But everything that he tried to paint his image of when he was at his peak, not only in Italy but over in Loch Ness, I think a lot of that could have been, and this is the question, a lot of that could have been supported just by his money, and so he was paying for an image, and which attracted people to come hang out at the free party. That not necessarily he was summoning demons and so forth. So looking back now, is that kind of how he was? Do you think it was just a religion supported by, when you're rich, you have tons of friends. You're broke, you got none. Was it an example of that?
I think so. But I do think he was in touch with something dark, on the other side. As well, I think just by the very fruit of his labor and the things that he did and the things that he promoted would show you that I'm totally not an expert on any of this stuff. So if I'm offending any Wiccans, if I'm offending any people who are into Thelema, I'm not an expert. This is my experience, what we did, and I don't lay claim. I don't lay claim that I'm the expert on the Christian faith, any of this. So don't take it the wrong way, because you know how we get hate mail. This is my experience, and I know how people come out the woodwork. But I will say, look you know what I'm saying, look where he ended up. But I think a lot of people who follow him, they appreciate the way he ended up, and that's what kind of throw it off too.
Well, yeah, the way he ended up just kills the
a lot
myth.
of people say, well, he ended up in a blissful state. You know, and,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that I don't agree. I do not agree.
Well, you know, it's legend and legendary, and you look at the definitions of those. Certainly, Crowley is an example of that. You know, he wasn't the legend and the myth and everything else grew over the years. And if it hadn't have been for a few things that happened in the 60s, probably we would have never even remembered the guy. He would have just come and gone, and that would have been that. Now let's change gears a little bit. Let's talk about how you write a song. When what comes first? You know, is it do you lay down your music first? Are you laying down loops, or are you doing that to lyrics? What comes first?
As far as the music, I do not create the beats. I have several producers that I use. Amos, the Ancient Prophet, being one of the foremost people I use. So I have different people who create the beats, and they send me the tracks, and I lay everything else down here. So as far as me doing mine 100%, like I do the videos and everything else myself. I do the recording, the mixing, the mastering, the graphic art, the website, everything, except the beats. So like I said, I have several different producers that I use, but as far as writing the lyrics, most of the time, I try to let it come from inspiration just in daily life. I try not to force anything, and usually lyrics will come to me, and it's usually something that sticks with me or means a lot to me, and then I'll just take it back, and I'll actually write it down, and I'll take it back, and I'll actually build on top of it. So if I have, several pieces of paper that I've collected throughout the day with different phrases on it or different rhyming schemes on it, I'll take it down and sit down and see if they fit together, so I can make a song out of it. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Have to save them, but then I'll take them down and then I'll start forming a song around these first couple bars.
Okay, so it sounds to me like the beats come first then.
No.
Okay.
It's both ways. Sometimes I will listen to a beat and I'll try to write to it, and I could do that. But the majority of the time, I'll just have these different inspirational lyrics come to me, and I'll have to find the beat that matches the lyrics, like the tempo that I actually wrote it to.
So it
actually works both ways.
Okay, and so you have a notebook, probably, where you're just if a verse, a line comes to you and a rhyme comes to you, you immediately write that down so you don't forget it, and then you can go back and access that later and go that'll fit here in this song.
Yeah, I'll be on the job somewhere and have a little piece of paper in my notebook, in my lunchbox, and I'll write it down, and I'll pull it back out later and write something else. It may not even fit with that. It's just what comes to me. I try to write it down if it inspires me or I feel a connection with it, and then I go back and sit down in the lab and try to form something out of it and put the rest together with it.
And what else will influence you? Do you ever watch a documentary or something crazy, and then boom, it comes like that, and you turn around and write it down? A strange word may pop up. It could be anything.
Yeah.
Well,
it's usually not while I'm watching the documentaries or something. I usually try to retain as much information as I can, and then it will pop up later. I'll be jogging or like stargazing or something like that, or just driving or meditating, and and then I'll actually get something that way. But it may be from the documentary, it may be from some of the information I pulled from it.
Well, I'm referring to something even more crazy, and I've said it earlier tonight, but pineal gland, you got to be the only rapper in the history of music that's managed to get that into a song. And not only get it into a song, but it has to have meaning. Your reference. It's not just a word. You need to make a reference to it, and you've done it. And so that's kind of where I'm going. How do you manage to get the meanings of this crazy subjects in a row, in an order that it makes sense in a rap song. And not only that, but you're rapid fire too. You know,
it's hard. It's hard because I have to have so many words and they have to be on topic. That's why some of them it's just like, you know, Karmatica starts one place and ends in a totally different direction, you know. But some of them where I'm talking about dreams, I'm talking about visions, I'm talking about angelic contact, I'm talking about aliens, ETs. Some of them will start out by the sample. I'll listen to a sample from an interview with James Gilliland, and he'll say something that I like. I need to reference that. I need to put that. And I'll take his vocals from the interview and the video, and that helps for the video process, and I'll sample it. And, you know, most of these guys, and what's kind of helped me is that a lot of these people, like, once I'm done with the material, they'll share it. They'll share it with their email list. They'll share it with their fan base. And it's about networking and working together. So a lot of them love it, man. They love to hear their vocals and a lot of their work put to something, especially if it's top notch and it sounds good and, you know, it's a good, message. So James Gilliland, Michael Tessarian, Tricia McCannon, a lot of these different, you know, researchers who've actually inspired me in the past. I'll actually sample a lot of their work. And
you have James. Yeah, James is sampled in one of your tracks, and he's actually in the video too as well. Have you gotten out of the state? Have you gone up and hung out with him on his ranch? Have you been able to do that?
I haven't, man. So everything, I'm real low budget as far as financially. It may not look like that. Like when I tell people I'm not touring the country and stuff, like people, they think I'm crazy. Like, are you serious? But, you know, I mean, I haven't had, I want to. He lives on the other side of the U.S. from me, but I definitely want to get up there. I've interviewed James several times. I've talked to him for hours on end before. You know, a lot of these researchers I've talked to before, but so we just go out and have our own experiences. We take what they're doing. We take what Stephen Greer has coined the CE5 initiative and went out there and we've actually made contact ourselves and we try to teach people how to do that. And that's what I'm talking about in these songs and things like that. So
that's right. That's right.
I don't have to drive across the country to have these experiences.
That's exactly where I'm going right now. Yeah. So let's talk about this. Okay, we can go with both sides. We can go with Greer, we can go with Gilliland, but both of their way of contacting has the same type of net result.
Yeah.
Okay, so what have you seen? Have you videotaped anything?
No, I haven't. I haven't actually went out with that intention. I went out to begin with the intention of just seeing if it was real, you know.
Right.
And I spend a lot of hours under the stars. I'm a truck driver. I drive a truck for a living, and a lot of times I would get out, real early. Like I would leave the shop. I actually clock in like at 3 a.m. I've been up since 1:30 a.m. this morning, so I'm a little bit out of it. But we would get out the shop, and I would load my truck and get out, and I would pull over at a rest area probably at 4 in the morning, and I would stay there until the sun came up about 6 in the morning. And from 4 to 6, I would just be in an attitude of thanksgiving, just talking to God, you know, praying, being thankful for everything in my life. And I would look at the stars and name the constellations I know and ask for a sighting. I would put the intention out there. I'd say, God, if these are your angels, if these are benevolent beings that have my best interest in mind, if these are your seraphim mentioned of in the scripture, which means the fiery ones, will you please show them to me? And I'd stay out there for a couple hours and I would see stuff. One of the biggest sightings I've seen, I was at a truck stop it was actually a rest area at Pensacola, Florida, and if it's actually a hotbed for UFO sightings as well.
Yep.
But I was naming a lot of the constellations that I knew, and I really wasn't looking for a sighting. I was just, the wind was blowing. I was right there by the water. I was just enjoying the moment. naming all the constellations. And I looked up at Orion, and I'm really drawn to, that constellation, that star system. So I looked up at it, I named it, I looked away, and I looked back up at Orion, and it was shining brighter than the street lights that were close by. And it was so bright. I was like, that's really bright. I just looked at Orion, and it wasn't this bright. Wow, this is amazing. And then so I turned my gaze up just a little bit, and I seen that I wasn't originally looking at Orion. I was looking at the bottom of the constellation Orion. The bottom right star is called Regal.
Mm-hmm.
And what it was once I seen, hey, that's not Orion, once that hit my consciousness, these two stars that were posed as the Orion's belt. There was one in the middle, which was Regal, and then one above it and one below it. They were posed exactly like Orion's belt, right under Orion's belt. As soon as I seen that, these two stars began to move. They actually lit up even brighter, and they started to fly into Orion, and they zigzagged a little bit, and they were really bright. They were posed as stars. They were really bright, and they flew into the constellation Orion. And I was ecstatic when I seen it. I tried to grab my cell phone. Obviously, it didn't pick up on my cell phone. You definitely need a better camera because it was dark out. It was about 5 a.m. But when I seen that was one of the biggest things I saw. I've actually had them come down over my house, and a lot of times I guess at the very beginning I was scared of them from seeing a lot of stuff about abductions and things like that, watching fire in the sky when I was like 7 years old, that scared the hell out of me as a kid. So when I was just getting into this and having my own sightings and visitations, like it was something scary at first because I didn't want to be abducted. When they would come down really close, I would get them to come down right above my house.
Well,
and
when they get that close, what are you seeing? Are you seeing a structure? What do the craft look like?
Light. It's usually a light. It's a light during the night, and during the day, it's usually the ones that look like cigar-shaped craft during the day. Sometimes they look just like a white ball, like a white light, during the day. But usually at night, they're just a light. I've seen several different craft, and I think what we're seeing for the most part are actual entities, that they're not like a ship or whatever with beings in it. I think a lot of what we're seeing are actual entities traveling back and forth and traveling in the heavens. And
any communication? Any communication?
Yeah.
And how do you communicate?
It's telepathically. It's you put the thought, you put the intention out there to the universe, to God, and you put it out there, and they, a lot of times they answer back if you open up for it. Like I know there was this one time I was driving my truck, and I seen a jet flying through. It was right past Tallahassee, Florida, and I was past Tallahassee, Florida, going into Georgia. And I seen this jet flying, and as soon as I seen the jet, it actually hit my psyche that jet was going to scare off a UFO. It hit my psyche that there was a UFO parked, and these jets are out here not to spray chemtrails at this moment or whatever, but it was going to scare off a UFO before people seen it. And I looked exactly with that path of that with that jet, and there was a UFO there during the day, and it was a bright light. It stayed there until I seen it. As soon as I made contact with it, it got real bright and disappeared. And the jet stayed on the same path. And it was pretty amazing. There's been a lot of times like that I would, get these different.
Is it really that? Is it that easy? I mean, no. or does it come with practice?
Yeah, it comes with practice, but then it's not. I don't think there's a patent on it. I think it would be too easy if it was. I wish it was.
Right.
I'll say that. I've spent hours. I've had a lot of amazing sightings, like that have made me a believer, but I've spent hours gazing up at the sky, and that's what it takes. I wouldn't trade these experiences for the world, but it's not, you'll go out there for 10 minutes and, hey, this isn't working. Like I'm saying, 2-3 hours at a time when I go out.
Right.
Or we'll go out the whole night under the stars, just gazing up, and sometimes we won't see anything. The majority of the times we won't see anything. But when I go out by myself, it's weird. That's when I start seeing stuff. I guess I need to bring a camera out. But it's just, you know what? It's, you know what I'm saying? It just proves it for me.
Well, absolutely. And what if what if you were sitting down with, you mentioned, any of your big hip hop influences. Let's just say you sit down with Cube. You know what I mean? You have an opportunity to sit down with Cube at a dinner table, and Cube wants to talk to you about what you do and what you write. Are you gonna mention UFOs to Cube? Are you gonna, you know what I mean? Are you gonna go there?
Talk about my music, yeah. That's the music I do. I'm not gonna go to somebody at the store and start talking about them. Like I'm not gonna bring it up in conversation, but I'll try to feel the person out. If it's like a one-on-one deal, I'll just try to feel them out and see if they've had experiences. I'll let them. I don't want to be known as the guy who always sways, the conversation, because I've been that, whether it was 9/11 or the Catholic Church or whatever. I've always been the guy that, hey, the Catholic Church is blah, blah, blah. So just showing some self-control and just kind of feeling people out. If we're talking about my music, I think it's going to be a little bit, obvious about what I'm talking about. So I definitely would go there.
Right.
But other than that, I would just try to feel people out, because you can easily freak people out, and you can show them the light, and sometimes it blinds them, and sometimes that's not a good thing, and you can ruin a friendship or a relationship. So I try to, I try not to, go stand on the street corner and preach this stuff. As far as like in my daily, life with coworkers and things like that. I always say that there's some people that we can talk about angelic communication. We can talk about UFOs and fallen angels and all this stuff. And there's some people that all we can talk about is football and the weather.
Yeah,
you got to be prepared to talk about football and the weather. You got to be prepared. You may not want to, but it's wisdom. You got to be prepared.
I'm going to open up the phone lines. We only have a few minutes left, and I would like you want to take a couple of calls if we get some in?
Sure thing.
Okay, absolutely. 323-825-5045. Let's just open up the phone lines really quick. We have about another 15, 20 minutes left before we start to wind things down. So any questions, anybody would like to call in, please. 323-825-5045. Also, you can Skype in Fade to Black 14. Okay, so that's that. Let me click on a couple of buttons here and open up the phone lines. Okay, they're open. 323-825-5045. And now, what I was kind of referring to when I said that earlier or on the previous question is what I was referring to is in the hip hop community. Is this a subject that would be talked about? I mean, it's okay. What I mean is this, it's okay for some reason to about women or cars or money or drugs or killing the police or whatever. That's the urban legend behind, what is cool with hip hop. But is this something that is actually talked about? Is ufology?
Every now and then some of the mainstream artists will slip something in there. They may hear another artist like myself or the Lost Children of Babylon or Atma or some of these guys mention some stuff, and they'll look into it. Like I said, it's an awakening that's going across the board, and celebrities and hip hop artists aren't immune to that. There's a lot of celebrities and hip hop artists who, and for one, the guy Chingy, there's a rapper Chingy who was real big in the early 2000s, and now he's all into metaphysics and he's into the third eye and astral travel and things like that. So I mean, it doesn't discriminate, and if he wants to talk about it, we could definitely talk about it. But I'm not trying to force anybody to talk about it. It's there. And I try to have a market for it or something, or try to promote it without pushing it on people.
Right. Well, the publicity, one of the publicity photos that you sent me today. I didn't use that one, but I did post it on Facebook. And when I announced the show tonight, now I'm actually clicking and opening up Facebook here. I wanted which was different than any other picture that I found for you on the web. There it is. You got the Illuminati triangle, cap of the pyramid right over your eye, right? And there it is. And it's that single eye identification Illuminati thing. Is that what you are trying to say here? Because that's what people would see. And I saw it immediately. I was like, wow, that's pretty clever.
Yeah. And I do that, and I get a lot of backlash for that from certain people who associate all types of symbolism with negative meanings. And so, but obviously, when someone sees the triangle in the eye, the first thing they think of is the Illuminati, is world domination, is Satanism, the Eye of Horus, blah blah blah. But when we understand symbolism, like I studied symbolism big time as well, so we like to use a lot of symbolism that started out or had its original meaning or conception in something positive. Symbols hold no power. Symbols have no power whatsoever. But the only power it has is what your thoughts and ideas and experiences that you place with it. So when we see a symbol like the all-seeing eye, the eye of providence, what a lot of people don't understand, that even that symbol was used in early Christianity, with the eye actually representing the eye of God, the all-knowing, all-seeing eye of God who watches over all creation. Many cultures use that eye as their symbol to reference God. We just went to the reservation in Oklahoma, and they were showing me some of the ancient artifacts, and they used the all-seeing eye. Their symbol for God is the eye. So it's not just an Egyptian symbol or a satanic symbol or something like that. Like, all cultures use the eye for God. And so when you see the triangle around it, the early Christians would call the newly baptized Christians the Illuminati, the illuminated ones, those who are illuminated with light. And when we understand light is knowledge. So, and the triangle would represent the Trinity, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So, but obviously with pop culture and things like that, when they see it, most people, especially the Christians, and that's why I've made a lot of noise with them, is the fact that, he's a Satanist now because he's using these symbols. But we're just trying to bring knowledge and awareness and to take away the fear and the hysteria behind this. It's like when we see, the pentagram. When someone sees a pentagram, the first thing that I thought of as a child was it symbolized someone who worshipped the devil, the five-pointed star. If you had that, you was a devil worshiper. And, so a lot of people, when they see that, that's what they believe. It's a demonic symbol. But when we look at one of the roots for that symbol, when we understand ancient texts, there's mentioned of in the Testament of Solomon, this ring that Solomon got from the angel Michael. God gave it to Michael to give to Solomon, and that when he wore this ring, he had power and control over all the spirits. And when he tells you this ring, he says it's a pentagram, it's a five-pointed star ring. So that's why when you see witches, paint a pentagram in the floor with a circle around it and they get in it, it's not to summon demons, it's for protection, to keep evil spirits away. It's a positive symbol. And it's even mentioned of in some of the biblical texts, that was actually taken out of the Bible. So when we talk about the Star of David, people say, the Star of David, and what is it? This is, because David didn't have a star. What they'll say is the Shield of Solomon. And most people think it's the six-pointed star, but it's not. The Shield of Solomon is the five-pointed star, as mentioned of in the Testament of Solomon.
Well, so, when you are referencing the all-seeing eye, or in pictures or in the videos, which you've done a lot of, but that's one thing, because you're singing or you're producing a message and you're trying to portray a message. But when you swing it back around and you've got like Jay-Z wearing some Illuminati shirt, you know, or all of these other researchers that are talking about what Lady Gaga is doing, or what this person in this album cover and this magazine cover with the eye, or the shirts, or the message in that's a little bit different. Do you think that is intentional? Do you think there is some direct connection to, the Illuminati to these artists to get their message out?
That would be the fun way to look at it. I think if we talk to a lot of these people, we understand, Madonna using this symbolism. We look at people like Jay-Z using the symbolism. Obviously, the I stands for someone who is awake as well, someone who is in the know, and someone who knows what's going on behind the scenes, and who knows that there's more to life and there's more to this reality. That's also another, meaning of the all-seeing eye. And I think a lot of these people, especially Madonna, who is, well-versed in the Kabbalah and things like that, I believe she knows what she's doing. But at the same time, you have other people who are just using it because they know they'll get people to repost their videos and make breakdown videos explaining their symbolism and blogging about them. So it's really infiltrated, pop culture now, to where the Illuminati or whatever, even that word, it really has a different meaning, and it's kind of like a buzzword now. So it's like, I think it's one of the most looked up things on YouTube now, and they say everybody's in the Illuminati, and I don't think everybody can be in the Illuminati, especially if it's a secret society or something like that. But people are doing it just to get people to blog about them and stuff like that, and we're just trying to bring some information on the symbolism and what it means and stuff, and that it has multiple meanings, and it goes for Illuminati symbolism, and it goes for the cross, it goes for the swastika, it goes for the rainbow. A lot of people, when they see the rainbow on someone's tattoo, or they have a rainbow flag at their house, or they have a rainbow bumper sticker on their car, it usually means they're an open homosexual. And so when we understand that symbol now, that's the first thing that comes into our consciousness when we see it. Is that the meaning of the rainbow? No, we go back a little bit further. It's actually mentioned of in the Bible as a symbol of God's covenant between him and man, that he wouldn't destroy the earth by water again. So it's like, okay, do the homosexuals lay claim on it, or does the Bible lay claim on it? It's neutral. These symbols have no meaning except what you put to it, and we just want to rid the fear and hysteria that people are tying not only with symbols but with a lot of stuff.
Well, when you see the all-seeing eye and references to the Freemasons or in every, when you start to look for it, and I'm talking about in popular media, whether it's a movie, whether it's a cartoon, any cartoon, any movie posters, magazine ads, television commercials, whatever, you start to look for it, and it is everywhere. And so when you say there you can't put any meaning to symbolism, well, somebody thinks it's important somewhere, or is it a joke, or is it there to be funny? Oh, let's just put the all-seeing eye on a T-shirt and have the guy walk in the background in this scene in this blockbuster Hollywood movie. I think now we're definitely getting that. But for some of the older stuff before this hit pop culture, it is a Masonic symbol as well. And when we talk about the fear and hysteria, people talk about the Masons. They think the Masons are devil worshippers as well. I think they're sadly mistaken. I kind of thought that as well when I first got into looking up 9/11 truth and all this stuff, and it was about, like, I preached against Freemasonry. Like, I tried to expose Luciferians, and they worship Lucifer and all this type of stuff. And the more studying I did, being open-minded and just looking at the information for what it was, from even talking to Masons and interviewing Masons and being friends with Masons, I found out that, they know a lot of information, and it's the same thing for them. It just represents the eye of God. So, I'm sorry about that. I just find it one of the things when I go. I don't want to name researchers by name, but there is such prevalence on YouTube and websites in general that are dedicated to this very subject. And you're right, it's a buzzword, but it's a word also that tends to scare people these days too as well.
Yeah.
And when you jump on YouTube and you see these videos, not only with Hollywood movies and stuff, but when it starts jumping into pop culture in general, and how the Illuminati and the New World Order is using these large pop icons to help spread the word. Okay, that sounds like a pretty good conspiracy. But then they have the evidence to back that up, and it makes you back up and just go, wait a minute, maybe there is something to this. Maybe Madonna really did pass the torch to Britney Spears. And it kind of starts to make sense. And are you saying we need to stop and take a deep breath and say to ourselves, it's not really what it seems?
For a lot of it. I'm not saying that all of it's good and everyone's happy and lofty and they all have the greater good in mind that use those symbols. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying some of these conspiracy theories and some of these it gets way out there. It gets way out there as far as, the Illuminati killed every famous person. The Illuminati killed Michael Jackson. The Illuminati killed Whitney Houston. The Illuminati killed Pimp C. The Illuminati killed Tupac. Like, could Whitney Houston not just be a crack addict? Could she not, could she have a bad heart and love to smoke a lot of crack and smoke coke at the same time? Could that not happen?
Yeah, you're right.
But it goes with everybody. It goes with everybody. It's always a conspiracy, and I found out the hard way too. Like when I was chasing a lot of the conspiracies, like even with the Gulf oil spill, and there was a lot of people in the South on the Gulf Coast heard these rumors and seen these videos that people made up on YouTube about that there was going to be this tsunami because all this oil was going to explode from the bottom of the ocean. And there was a lot of, these things were getting hundreds of thousands of views, and there were big time people saying you needed to move. And then there was going to be acid rain from all this oil and these chemicals that were spilled, and like people really took that to heart. Like I know people who moved from the South from watching that and watching those conspiracies and moved. I had people calling me, you need to move, man. It's going down. And the bad thing about it is when they give you times and dates and they'll put their life on it. September 2011, man, it's going down. It's like, okay, September 2011 came and went, and none of this happened. So, but it always happens with that. And I'm not saying that nothing can happen, but I am saying that I've been a part of movements where people name times and dates that were saying, oh yeah, we're going to have the RFID chipped in 2008. They were supposed to do it with the National ID Act, and then we were going to have the RFID chip. And then they were like, when it didn't happen, they're like, well, they found out that a lot of people was waking up about it on the internet, so they pushed the date back. It's like, man, come on, dude.
Well, what about 9/11 then? Is that something? People ask me about this all the time. I'm going to throw it right back at you. When you say couldn't Whitney have just been a crack addict? Couldn't she have just is that possible? Well, what about 9/11? What's your take on that? The more that I used to look at 9/11 as just, it was a couple of terrorists that happened to take over planes and fly them into buildings. Maybe it was just that. I don't look at it that way now, but could 9/11 just been planes that were driven into a building? And what's your take?
Could have been. Very well could have been. We don't, that's the thing, we don't know. And for us to go around acting like we know, we don't know. I mean, I believe it was an inside job. From all the research and the documentaries I've watched and the people that I know who were there and being involved with We Are Change movement and these people, I believe it was an inside job by looking at all the information and the videos and looking like a controlled demolition and explosives going off and the buildings fall, then they pull building 7 and all this stuff, seeing everything. I personally think it was an inside job. I could be wrong. I very well could be wrong.
It seems a little fishy. I definitely my take, and we'll never know probably, but my take is somebody knew about it in advance, and that in its very nature is a bad thing.
Even when they pulled the building, like, this what you do. Well, it's on fire. We're gonna pull it. It's like, well, it was, and I know it was like a couple weeks later. There was like people showing these, footage of these different buildings on fire. It's like, oh, I guess we're gonna have to pull it.
Right.
But
man,
but that's what it is. I mean, it's a conspiracy, and but I think there is something that's going on deeper, behind the scenes that we've been talking about since the beginning. So
I've really enjoyed the conversation tonight. And now, are you playing locally? Do you plan on getting out and touring, or do you have anything plans for 2014 and 2015? What's going on?
I plan on releasing another album soon, an EP called 333. That's what I'm working on now. But other than that, I'm just going to walk through the doors as they open. I don't have any plans. Like I told you, I'm my own manager. I don't have a booking agent. I do everything myself. So if anybody wants to book me, if anybody wants to, I'm saying, get a feature, if anybody wants to talk, I'm here. So I'm going to walk through the doors as they open. I would love to do it full time.
Well, the website, which is Truthseekah Music, we have all the links up. Everybody knows how to do it. Just go over to Jimmy Church Radio, click. Everything is there. And by the way, I want a shirt. Those shirts are cool. But and I totally agree with when you said earlier, I wanted to jump in and say this. When you tell people that this isn't your, that you're a truck driver, or that you don't have a manager, you do all this yourself, because they must look at you and go, what are you talking about? It looks like an empire. Because the videos are amazing. The production on the music is amazing. The sounds, the videos, I mean, it's all, I don't know how you find the time to do it all, but it's very well done. And when you look at it, it looks as professional as anything else out there. That is out there, so I'm sure you must get that all the time. And I was shocked. I asked you the same questions today, didn't I?
Yeah.
And I was shocked with it.
We do have a strong fan base now. I mean, we're selling T-shirts and CDs all over the world, so the internet's a powerful tool. And I'm doing everything from the internet. Like, we're pushing this music and via YouTube, and like I actually have my channel shut down, man. There was like hundreds of thousands of views on these videos before my channel got pulled. So we're just kind of starting over with the YouTube thing, and we got people all over the world. It's amazing. I'm humbled that people like the music, and they like the movement. They support the movement. So like when people listen to the music and they wear a shirt with the all-seeing eye, because I'm always going to get that, what's it mean? And but everybody who purchases a shirt, they usually know what it means. They usually understand that it means that they're awake, and it means God, and the other symbols on there for the Om symbol for meditation and things like that. And it's a powerful movement. And I'm just I'm happy to be a part of it.
Well, I think the message
out there to inspire people to dig deeper and to tap into their higher power, and to move in a creative lifestyle, and just see everybody as an extension of themselves, so they treat others the way they want to be treated. So,
and the book is on the website too. I want to make sure, Testimony of an Ex-Witch, that is available too.
Yeah, we go into a lot more detail on some of these stories that we shared tonight about seeing the elementals and kind of what happened after that. So we go into a lot of detail in the book. And it's my first book. It just came out a couple of weeks ago. It's doing good, just online, just through Facebook and everything. So yeah, I'm happy to have that out.
Oh, I'm happy to be a part of it, and I said that to you today. It's a great message. The music, like I said, the music itself, you just listen to it because it's cool. It's good. It's great. Then you got to stop and go.
It's just icing on the cake. It's just icing on the cake, What it's actually worth listening to.
Yeah. Did he just say astral planes?
Huh?
I said, did he just sing Astral Planes and shamanism? How do you make that rhyme? But
it's hard, man, but it's fun.
It's excellent stuff. And again, Truth, I really enjoyed the evening, and we'll do it again very soon. And if anything breaks, pops, or anything that you need to talk about, you need to get out, contact us here. We'll get you back on the show. And send me some more tracks, by the way. And we'll use that stuff for bumper music. It's amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
We'll do.
Have a great
Thanks so much
night.
for having me, man. I enjoyed it.
Pleasure's all mine. Thank you for everything, and we'll be in touch, man.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you, Truth. All the best. Good night. All right. Wow. I mean, what a night we had on the show. And with that, I do need to, if you don't mind, I do need to take a quick break, and I'm going to do that right now. Thank you, Truthseekah. That was amazing. And I'm going to take a quick break, take 5. And we'll wrap this up when I get back. I'll talk about the rest of the week. It says Fade to Black, the Wednesday edition. Twitter lit up all night. I couldn't even keep up with it. Shoot me an email, Jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. And we'll do this really quick. And I'll take one phone call. 323-825-5045. I'll be back in a second. Stay with us.
This is William from La Crescenta, and I listen to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Jimmy Church.
My name is Alan, and I listen to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
He's always giving it to you straight.
JimmyChurchRadio.com.
On the Dark Matter Radio Network.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio, the Revolution.
All right. I'll tell you what's funny about this track right here. Right here. It's got Dizzy playing on it. He played on 2 tracks on this record. That's kind of a weird coinkydink. That was awesome tonight. And if you stop and think about it, what was really cool about tonight's show, we had an actor this week and throughout what's last week, but actor, rapper earlier tonight, rock musician. You know, there's something about this show, UFOs and conspiracies, and the subject matter here. It's in popular culture, bringing in public figures to discuss this. We had Dan Fogler on to talk about this, and just Graham Bonnet. It's in society, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's out there. It's being discussed with Fogler and Don Peyote this week. We're going to have a director on this Friday, but it's out there in the mainstream. And I was talking to somebody else from Hollywood today. Can't really say his name. But the prevalence of things that are out right now, the film Alien Abduction, Mystery Men, that documentary, Jay Weidner with his film Shasta, Don Peyote, and a couple of other things that are about to come out. There's another movie that we'll be discussing. It's called Stranger at the Pentagon. And you can look at those links at JimmyChurchRadio.com and go check that out and look at the trailer and stuff. That we'll be discussing on the show this Friday. And I think it's very, very important. And now, with Truthseekah, and definitely go listen to his music and watch the videos and check out his message and how he's doing it into a genre that is a difficult thing to do. And this is a guy that's on a mission, man. And I believe, but it's just something that it's another approach of trying to get this done. And I salute him. And the music is just absolutely amazing, by the way. And when I played that earlier, I know everybody's like, going, man, what's church doing here? But if you stop and you listen to the words, I can't wait. I'm going to be riding around here somewhere in the San Fernando Valley, playing his CD in my car loudly at a stoplight, and just have somebody just go, what? And then maybe catch a lyric or two. I go, wow, that's what that's about. I want that to happen, and I think it's great. I think it's absolutely fantastic. All right, let me jump into Twitter here really quick before we start to wrap this down. What is going on? Do they have links in them? I read them on my phone quickly and didn't see the links. I don't know what you're referring to. Lou, still lost him. Oh, by the way, everybody has been talking about a chat room or something. No, let's just do this. Okay, I want everybody, because I think it's going to work for everybody just fine. But hashtag DM RadioNet stays. That ain't going anywhere. Now, you want to do hashtag Fade to Black, FTB, F2B, and get I want all of those windows accessible to everybody. Twitter is something that's very big with this show, but I want everybody to participate. Chat room, we could do it. I don't know. We've been talking about it, and I'm probably going to get a flash here from the producers in a second that's going to say something like, oh, by the way, we have a new chat room up. So I don't know, but I don't know if we're going to do that. We've certainly talked about it, but I think it's a Twitter world, and I like tweeting, and I dig that, and it's kind of like the norm. It's what people do. So there you go. All right. Fade to Black. It's hashtag F2B. I guess tweet deck. Is that what's going to work for everybody? Look, I want to see the tweets pop up right now. Is it tweet deck? Is that what we're doing? And is it hashtag F2B and then hashtag DM RadioNet? And that keeps everything active on the Dark Matter page and also somewhere else? I don't know. I don't understand all of this. It's like a new world to me. But if that's what we're doing, but hashtag DM RadioNet stays. All right. And I guess that's how we're going to do things. All right. I want to jump back a little bit and thank the last 3 days, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, my two brothers were in town. And I got to say, Danny and Greg, we went out all 3 days. We had a big cookout here, or over at the house, I should say, here in Burbank, Sunday night. And then Monday, Tuesday, all the way through midnight last night, I hung out with my two brothers. And we haven't done this together in a long time. And but I had great fun. But last night, amazing time. So, and if the two of them are listening to the show right now, thanks, Danny, thanks, Greg. It was an amazing time. We'll be doing it again very soon. But I was sitting here last night, and I wanted to talk about this. I was talking about singularity and teleportation last night with my brother. Okay, tweet deck, according to J.D. Redding. And, Eugene just said, please get Kiefer on before the end of 24. I don't know if I can before the end of 24, but I will. I reached out to him last week. I'll see what I can do, but I can't let the cat out of the bag, and he won't do that either. But maybe, you know what? I can probably get Kiefer to come on the show if we don't talk about 24. Oh, man. You know what's funny? When all the times that I've hung out with Kiefer, we never talked about Jack Bauer once. Well, maybe once, but we never did. And that's thing. That's for him. He just wants to be Mr. Normal Guy. But I could get him to come on if we don't talk about 24. That'll be, UFOs, easy. 24, he just doesn't like to, I'll deal with that. So anyway, back to my brothers. We were talking about teleportation and singularity last night. And this conversation went on for hours. And it all stemmed from, we went to go see that new Tom Cruise movie last night together. We went up to Universal Studios and checked that out. Actually, pretty good movie. I was kind of shocked at how good that was, whatever it's called, Edge of Time. We saw it in 3D, IMAX, and pretty good flick. But so the conversation just stayed on that all night. And we sat out on the back patio of my house and discussed it, the possibilities of it. And the thought of teleportation, and this is what I want to talk about. You know what? It's possible. 3D printing right now. 3D printing. We can do that right now. And you know what? To be honest with you, it is just a nano thing away from teleportation. If you can 3D print something, to me, teleportation is right there. And I think it's possible. And I was telling them about how Michio Kaku was on the show discussing this, and it's right there. We have it. But you know why it's not like right here in front of us right now? Same subject matter we talked about tonight. If the airline industry would disappear and shut down overnight, if it would be possible to teleport to Paris in 2 seconds or in 2 minutes, think about that. You know teleportation is possible, and they're probably doing it now. But just like the internet has virtually shut down home phone service, you know, who wants to use telephones now? Cell phones have virtually shut down long-distance charges. You can call anywhere for free on your cell phone, have an unlimited plan. Think about that. The old $700 a month phone bill, it doesn't exist anymore. So that's what teleportation would do to the transportation industry. And when I told my brothers that last night, it was like they didn't quite grasp it until that moment. That's probably why teleportation isn't here. Because there would be no way to make money off of it. No real money. And shutting down planes and Boeing and everything, because there wouldn't be any need for it. Wouldn't be any need to sell airline fuel, jet fuel, ticket counters, airports. What if all that was gone? There's no way to make money on it. No way to do it like that in that scale. And if you look at it in those terms, it's a pretty frightening thing. And I've got to do, with that, I wanted to warm me up a little bit. I'm going to do a teleportation show. Got to. All right. Well, man, what a great night. I want to thank Dizzy Reed from Guns N' Roses for coming in tonight. That was absolutely amazing. Happy birthday, Dizzy. 51 years old. Can't believe it. I always thought he was younger than me. He's actually older. Coming up next, Arizona UFO show with Rich Giordano. Special thanks to Keith Rowland and Art Bell. Fade to Black. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Show's produced by Hilton J. Palm and Mark D. Kovar. The announcers are Steve Harder and Mark D. Kovar. Music is Doug Aldrich. Show intro is produced by Spaceboy. He's going to call in one day. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Dark Matter Radio Network. I'd like to thank Truthseekah. Had a great time with you tonight. Dizzy Reed, everybody else, thank you. This is Fade to Black on the Dark Matter Radio Network. I'll see everybody tomorrow. Thanks. Have a good night.